Part 89. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 884. After Sugu enlightened him, or he figured it out, now that Sugu and Phelps are together again, no matter how intimate they are, Lexington is always calm and calm. How is that possible? I'm still a little worried about the Admiral being snatched away or something. Sugu had to admit that he liked the girl Phelps very much. After all, she was so well behaved and she was like the caring little cotton-padded jacket of her dreams. However, that's all. In his mind, Lexington is more important anyway. After all, the two of them have lived together for so long, and he has received so much care from Lexington. How can these things be so easy? Forget. All in all, the Phelps thing is in the past. This is the coffee shop of the town hall. The unicorn has been concentrating on tending his garden these days and not caring about anything else. There are other things in Belfast. Instead of sitting in the corner and performing bagpipes, the only music now is the record player. Kent held the ferocious tiger in his arms and looked a little worried, as if someone was plotting against him. Hood drank black tea and stared at the ferocious tiger, thinking that it was actually bigger than his fat orange cat Ginger. Houston learned to make chocolate from the Raiders and screwed up again. Richelieu was standing behind the bar. She was now the bartender, and there were many people sitting in front of her. Near the window, Nevada, Guam, and Ziwikaku were sitting at a table. Nevada was holding the poker, and her expression was a little solemn because the cards were not very good. Opposite her, Ziwihi's expression was relaxed and relaxed. The reason is self-evident. I think you are a little too shameless. You actually bullied our Shinano and wanted to trick her. Shinano stood behind Ziwihi in a Japanese-made outfit, her expression aggrieved. She just realized that she was almost tricked. In the morning, I watched Nevada, Alaska, and Guam playing cards and playing landlord. Alaska left after playing for a while. 3 and 1 were missing, and Nevada invited itself. I originally wanted to refuse, but when I heard Guam say, "Does Shinano hate us?" "Yes, we are American," I couldn't speak. There was no bet at all at the beginning. I thought that if I got lucky, I would lose miserably. Who knew that I would actually win and lose, and everyone would be back and forth? Think about it, playing poker is not only about luck, but also about skill. I don't know what happened, but I blame myself for being too carried away. I agreed without thinking about anything. After a few games, I made a bet. First, I lost and drank water, and then I lost and drank. What a lucky day. Ziwihi came before it started, told everything, and had to fight back. "What do you mean by bullying? We are all sisters in the guardhouse. We are just having fun." Nevada's retort was a bit weak. Ruhi said, "Stop gossiping." Nevada sneered, "Don't be too self-righteous. You are Lucky Crane, and my nickname is also Lucky Nevada." Ziwihi was not afraid. She pulled out a few cards and threw them down. They were quite big. Planes have wings. No, Guam was Ruhi's next home. She looked at the cards in her hand and thought that she was a little lucky, but not very lucky. She couldn't afford to fight with gods. "Which one, Ruhi? Let me tell you everything." It was all Nevada's idea. She had no good intentions. I was just coerced. "Guam, you traitor, you actually surrendered!" Nevada shouted. "It was your idea." Guam glanced at Nevada and looked at Ziwihi eagerly. "Don't tell me, I don't know." Ruhi waved her hand. She did not accept surrender. "As agreed, I have always been a landlord and you are farmers. I lost 2 cups and you each lost 1 cup. He actually refused, and Gwanda said in a faint voice, "Ruhi, don't bully others too much. I'm not someone to be trifled with." "Do you want it?" Ruhi ignored Guam at all. She said, "You don't want me to play my cards anymore. You are very impressive." "Why are you so impressive?" Nevada slapped the table and stood up, then slowly sat down, lowered his head and turned away his face. No, you continue. Swords were drawn, golden drums sounded, bullets rained, flesh and bones were thin, and liver and marrow were in the wild. After a fierce battle, Ziwikaku drank 2 glasses of wine. How could he get involved? She was playing on behalf of Shinano, so everything Shinano drank. Nevada drank 5 drinks. Guam had the worst luck, and his skills were not very good, so he could only bully honest people, and she drank 9 drinks. Nevada looked around, but Lafite was not there, and neither was Suk Bader, so he couldn't ask them to draw cards. She thought about it. As long as it was not discovered, it was not cheating or cheating, but even though Ruhi didn't have an axe, he was not an easy person to deal with. In this case, forget it, Guam is worse anyway. It would be nice if someone was at the bottom. Guam is not a big drinker, even though it was just beer. After drinking so much, his face turned red. Ruhi, that's about it? I'll carry you back to your room when you're drunk. Ruhi didn't give up. He thought to himself, if I don't teach you Americans a lesson today, why would you still be easy to bully? Guam threatened, okay, Ziwihi, you can do it, don't blame me in the future. I don't blame you, Ruhi sneered, thinking that you don't have much of a position in Guam. You only occasionally teach music to little Lolita, and you are a wedding host. If anyone dares to make things difficult for you, you can just complain to the admiral if you can't. The fight continued, and it was Guam's turn to play. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nevada put away her cards. No. Ruhi played his cards. 5, 6, 7, 8, 90. Pass. Please. Ruhi showed her cards, and saw only 2 single cards, J and Q, and a king bomb. She must have won. She slammed the table. Drink, don't lie. Shuffle and draw cards, and another round begins. Ruhi thought for a while and then played his card, a 3. A 7. AK. A 2, a pair of jacks. It was Guam's turn. She looked down at the cards and suddenly laughed. She stared at Ruhi's chest and threw down 2 cards, a pair of aces. Someone around them burst out laughing. She was Wisconsin. The authorities were fascinated by the situation, and Wichita, who was watching, also laughed. Soon, Nevada realized something was wrong and she laughed. Shinano is a naive child and she doesn't know why. Ruhi realized something was wrong. She chewed it carefully and realized it quickly. She looked at Guam first. Although she was not as good as the Prince of Wales and Helena, her bust was still plump. Then she looked down at her flat chest. His shoulders began to shrug, and his breathing became rapid. What do you mean, Guam? It's not interesting. Guam brushed his bangs. It's just playing cards. Ziwihi scolded, husky. My elder sister is Alaskan and my younger sister is naturally a husky. Guam sat on a wicker chair, twirling a strand of long hair with his fingers. What's wrong with Ziwikaku? Shinano asked. Ziwikaku was about to shed tears. She looked back at Shinano and found that Shinano was also one of the top people in the town guard. She suddenly lost all goodwill toward her and was unwilling to help anymore. At the table next to her, Missouri sat opposite Sugu. She looked away from Ruhi and said, Hey, your wife seems to have been bullied. Just bully. Sugu looked indifferent. Do you have a conscience? Missouri said, even a little bit of conscience. Sugu said shamelessly, you should ask who in the town guard has more conscience than me. Shameless. Missouri thought for a while and said, it's really not worth it for Ruhi to marry such a man. When we were together before, we called him Xiaohihi, but now the new man has replaced the old man, and we call him Green Mao-he. Sugu didn't like Coca-Cola too much. He didn't like Americans who drank several cups a day. He only drank it once in a while. The main reason was that he was afraid of tooth problems. He picked up the mango juice and took a sip. Don't be weird. Missouri stared at Sugu's eyes, then looked at Wisconsin, and nodded thoughtfully. I finally found out, you are really a new person replacing an old one. Did you fall in love with Wisconsin? What the hell? Sugu scratched his hair and remembered the Wisconsin and Hindenburg exercises a few days ago. Call it a silly eldest sister, but Hindenburg is still very good. Wisconsin was defeated, completely defeated. The training ammunition is not live ammunition and will not cause any harm to the ship girl. However, embarrassment is still inevitable. It is too difficult to keep the clothes intact. In the end, Wisconsin was seen sitting on the sea, with several big holes in the black stockings on her slender and sexy legs, and the laces of her string underwear exposed. She held the side of her face with one hand, her face flushed and shy. Missouri was just joking, but she suddenly remembered something. I remembered. Originally, there was another light cruiser, the Montpelier, with short blonde slightly curly hair and a slim figure. Just give me a little more time. There is absolutely no problem. Everyone had to go back, so in the end I just gave her one card. Tell her if she has the opportunity to come to our garrison for a visit and inspection. Missouri intertwined his hands and placed them on the left side of his face. Just one. Wisconsin, a powerful and beautiful battleship is enough. What a reward, Missouri said. My Lord Admiral, you won't forget it, will you? Sugu thought of Lexington persuading him to give Missouri a ring, and he laughed. What do you want? You're smiling so weirdly, you must be thinking about something bad. Your mind is full of filthy thoughts, less of a cry of injustice, more of acquiescence. Missouri said, what are you going to give me? Mk-16 triple 6-inch cannon, flame suppressor. Sugu said, Zheng Zhou doesn't know who to give it to. If you want to take it, take it. Missouri's smile disappeared. This joke isn't funny. Sugu still knew that Missouri didn't really want any equipment, otherwise she would have everything now because she had paid so much for the garrison. She had also said at the beginning that she would join the garrison with Mk6 and Type 91 armor-piercing bullets, but in the end she just played for fun. After a few days, he gave it to others. Okay, Xiaozai, I will ask her to stay with you for the whole day, eat, drink, play and sleep with you. The fourth companion, you have one more companionship than the third companion. How can one day be enough? Missouri liked Xiaozai very much, but Xiaozai didn't like her and kept saying she was a troublesome person. She spread her fingers, the lion opened its mouth wide, sat on the ground and raised the price, at least a week. 1 week. Sugu said, what are you holding out 5 fingers for? I like it, I love it, I can stretch out as many fingers as I want. Missouri retracted her hand. Can you give me a happy word? No, it's too much. Sugu said, you brought it back to Wisconsin, but she hasn't called me Admiral yet. Who knows if it's a round trip and what will happen when the time comes? Sugu suddenly frowned. Zeppelin respected people who were more powerful than him. Back then, Akage was the only one who didn't have any outstanding abilities, so he was good at deceiving others, even his own students. I never know what politeness is, just invite me and be there whenever I want. Then no matter who you are, you will all be poor. He just defeated her in a drill and she immediately became Akage's little sister. I remembered the first time I had dinner with Akage. She cooked all the food, but she was not there in the end. She was like the cooking ant, which was so pitiful. For her, it was still very attractive to have so many strong men in the garrison. Although now I have seen too many strong people, I have been stimulated to give up treatment, and training does not matter anymore. It is only a matter of time before I am overtaken by York City, and I will become a glorious teacher, responsible for teaching a lot of little Lolita. King Cushing is just a destroyer, a little girl, easy to deal with, no need to do anything deliberately. Hindenburg came to the garrison, and Bismarck, the Prince of Wales, Richelieu, or whoever would practice with him from time to time, and occasionally discuss fighting skills together, enjoying themselves. The food is excellent, the cooking skills are excellent, and I can't fault it at all. As for drinks, the Genshufa Cafe has everything. There is no need to work hard. Everything is covered by food, clothing, housing, and transportation. You can only do things that interest you. No matter where you find such a good place, you will never leave. Kyo Andrea, what her sister says is what she says. Shinano has a happy-go-lucky personality, and there are archer fish and snowy winds in the garrison. Think about it, what did Wisconsin do after being in the garrison for so many days? Who do I chat with? Missouri is the most popular, and occasionally Richelieu, Washington, Bismarck, etc. Because everyone attacks together, the relationship is still good. The four irons in life are considered one if they have carried a gun together. Sit and read wherever you go, including classics, comics, and novels. One day, I was standing on the pier one afternoon feeding seagulls and watching Suk Bader fishing nearby. He's not childish, he seems to be just bored, playing with a hydraulic excavator toy alone. We practiced several times, but never took the initiative. They were all invited by others, and they didn't seem to be too interested in fighting. No matter how you look at it, there is no enthusiasm in her body. Sugu looked at Missouri and said, "I'm a little panicked." Sugu explained, and said, "Wisconsin, I'm not going to really leave one day, and it will be all in vain." Missouri thought for a moment and said, "There should be no problem. Something must be done." Consultant Sue, what does Wisconsin like? What are you talking about? Wisconsin came back at this time and sat down next to Missouri. I heard it, it seemed like you were talking about me. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 885. What are we talking about, you ask? Missouri saw his sister. After so much time, the two of them could really be said to be sisters. Wisconsin picked up the Coke that was originally his own and put it on the table and took a sip. "We saw how enthusiastic you were talking." Missouri tilted her head and held the side of her face with one hand. "We just said, well, our admiral asked me, Wisconsin, what do you like? Why do you ask this?" When Sugu saw Missouri, his heart skipped a beat. He knew she was going to cause trouble again. Sure enough, they heard Missouri say, "He asked you what kind of man you like. Do you know why? Wisconsin is not an idiot like Quincy. She naturally knows what kind of character her sister is. She is absolutely talking nonsense. However, this does not prevent her from looking at Sugu, this admiral. I haven't even gotten my sister yet, so I'm just thinking about my sister. Don't be too ambitious, the road must be step by step, and the food must be eaten one bite at a time." Sugu did not retort hastily. He knew very well that Wisconsin would not really believe Missouri's lies. He smiled and said, "A man is so greedy when he eats what's in the bowl, looks at what's in the pot, and thinks about what's in the wild. You have the nerve to say it." Wisconsin glanced at Sugu, holding his chin and pretending to think, "What kind of man do I like? Let me tell you, I like black hair and short hair, and I don't like girls with such long hair. What to do? It doesn't have to be too handsome, just sunshine is enough. It doesn't have to be too tall, but it doesn't need to be too short either." Sugu felt a little familiar after hearing Wisconsin's words. After a moment, he realized that the other party was following what he said. Of course, Wisconsin didn't like him anymore, he was just joking and teasing others. They really have the same personality as Missouri. I should say they are indeed sisters. In this case, he didn't mind nodding and said, "I think I meet the conditions very well. I would like to recommend myself and get to know you a little bit. My surname is Sumingwu, and I am an admiral." She usually doesn't like to talk, and she looks like a cold iceberg beauty, but actually she can say what she wants to say, especially when Missouri is around. Wisconsin lowered his head and said in a soft voice, "It turns out to be the famous Admiral Sugu, and the little girl Nian Fang is 28 years old." It was Missouri who interrupted Wisconsin. "Wisconsin, please stop saying 28, 28 is only 16, it's too shameless." Wisconsin shrugged and said, "It's good to be younger than my sister anyway." Missouri crossed her hands to show off her already plump bust, which made her look even more proud. "Yes, she is much smaller than my sister." "Okay, you win." Wisconsin was silent. As a girl, she still cared a little. Wisconsin asked Sugu, "Sue, do you prefer a bigger one or a smaller one?" When he first arrived at the garrison, Wisconsin still called him Admiral Sugu. Later, Sugu mentioned that he shouldn't be too harsh, and now he changed his name to Su. Sugu said nothing. The answer was self-evident. Having small breasts is a scarce resource, but it does not mean that having small breasts is good. "Lost, I understand." Wisconsin said, "Are all men that vulgar?" Missouri said, "What do you think? Let's not talk about that." "In fact, what Missouri and I just said." Sugu thought for a while and understood that people speak plainly. He said, "Wisconsin, I want to ask, how are you living in the governor's mansion?" "It's okay." Wisconsin knew what Sugu meant, "I'm quite satisfied." Consultant Su, "Really? Fake." Sugu said, "Then you have to work hard." Wisconsin said, "The richer you are, the harder you work." I have heard this saying before. I didn't believe it at the time, but I believe it now. Mr. Su already has so many ship girls, and this is the first time I know about it. A garrison can have hundreds of ship girls, but there are not that many ship girl branches in the enterprise, and each one is so powerful. As an admiral, he is still working so hard to save the ship. Missouri said, "How can the harem dislike Duo?" Missouri, "What are you talking about?" I. Sugu didn't know how to explain. Wisconsin remembered what she had just seen when she arrived at the town hall, and suddenly laughed. She just laughed a little, and then stopped quickly. Wisconsin's laugh was her dark history, but no matter how much she paid attention to it, she would fall into disgrace if she didn't pay attention. Appeared, "Mr. Su has been on more than a dozen weddings, everyone is on the front line. He stayed alone in the guardhouse and did not forget to hook up with girls, and then he was caught doing something." Missouri Yuyo said, "Maybe this is hard work." Sugu looked ugly and tried to explain, but finally gave up. "Mutsu's letter of apology should be posted on the notice board. I heard that it should be posted for a month to serve as a warning to others so that no one will do it again in the future." Wisconsin's expression was filled with joy. She muttered, "I am Mutsu, I am ashamed to write this statement of apology and hope to be forgiven by everyone. I am guilty, I am wrong, I am a coward, I should not take advantage of everyone to attack and seduce the admiral." Even though she had read it several times, Wisconsin still couldn't memorize it. She read out what she still remembered, and then looked at Sugu. "There is only Mutsu's letter of apology, but what about Mr. Su's letter of apology? Why don't I have it?" "See. My self-reflection letter." Sugu said, "I didn't write it." "Why don't you write it?" Wisconsin said, "Obviously, a fly can't bite a seamless egg, and a slap can't make a sound. Is it possible that the problem between two people can be avoided just because they are admirals? Although the self-reflection letter is exempted, but..." Sugu thought to himself how much effort he had put in to appease everyone, and he didn't know how many loving words he said, although he said the same thing to everyone. Missouri interjected, "As long as the public rations are paid enough, there is nothing that cannot be forgiven." "Is that so?" Wisconsin looked at Sugu, looked him up and down, and nodded thoughtfully. "I'm in trouble for you, can you still hold on?" Missouri said, "It doesn't matter, youth is capital. A certain person is called a man 7 times a night, and a piece of cake 10 times a night. So, that's it?" Why are you so dirty? Missouri, don't slander me. When did I say that? Sugu persuaded. Wisconsin, I strongly advise you to stay away from Missouri and don't be a bad example. My admiral, you have the nerve to accuse me. Missouri was disgusted. Well, do you want me to continue to break the news? Sugu's feet were under the table and kicked Missouri. Missouri fights back. Wisconsin didn't know what was happening under the table. She suddenly said, Sue, I'm really curious, what are you going to do? Consultant Sue, what do you want to say? Wisconsin said, I can see that besides Mutsu, there are many people who like you, such as Washington, Richelieu, Raiders, Wichita, Dumpling Essex, etc. If they are all married, there must be dozens of wedding ships. If it's just flirting but not marriage, Washington's axe is quite fast and can be solved with one blow. No way. Washington might not. Wisconsin said, I heard about you and Ayanamai. It seems that you haven't given her a ring yet. Ayanamai doesn't know what to do, but her sister is Shikinami, a Yandere. At some point, I went to your room with a hatchet. Then the next day, everyone was eating in the cafeteria and didn't see you. I felt a little curious and ran to your room to take a look. I saw Shakia sitting with your head in his arms. There was a pool of blood on the ground, and the learning experience was stinging my nose. No, no. Wisconsin thought for a while and said, it seems Shikinami also likes you, so it's not just for his sister, but also for himself. Sugu rubbed his forehead and said shamelessly, there must be no less than one person to get married. If possible, I still hope you marry sister first. Wisconsin said, well, if you marry sister, then I will become your sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, half of your brother-in-law's butt, are you looking forward to it? Missouri said, Wisconsin, I think it's up to you to think that I should be your aunt. Wisconsin ignored Missouri, and she said, Sue, let me ask you. Suguxiao, does your sister agree with the question? Absolutely agree. Wisconsin nodded, or you can ask her. Yes, I agree. Missouri said with a smile, I want a ring, and I want to be a wedding dress. As for the wedding dress, I like the wedding dress with a large chest and a large tail. It is very beautiful. For flower girls and other things, I can find Xiao Zai and Xiao Luo. Just right for two people. Chinese wedding dress is also good, with red background and gold embroidery, with phoenix and peony. The wedding bed is sprinkled with longan, peanuts and red dates, and the bed is made of small house and daikon. Where to choose for honeymoon trip? Which one is better? Gishan, I heard Lexington and the others used to work there, and I heard the scenery there is very good. Wisconsin looked at Sugu and said, listen, sister has said everything. What do you think? Sugu was really a little doubtful. He looked at Missouri and saw her looking at him with a smile on her face. He suddenly felt unsure. He thought it was no longer a game and there was no data panel to look at. It was really a troublesome thing. Wisconsin threatened Sugu, Sugu, please tell me what you are going to do. Do you know? I saw you and Fuzang yesterday. The one with black hair and big breasts is called Fuzang. I can't make it clear. If I tell Lexington, think about what to do. I said, what are you doing in such a hurry? Well, I understand. Missouri looked at Wisconsin, Wisconsin, you should think about the concubine system. In the concubine system, a woman who marries into her husband's family with her head wife has certain specifications. The higher one is the biological sister who marries together, and then you are the concubine. Missouri looked at Sugu again, what's wrong? Are you satisfied with one? Otherwise, let Enterprise and Hindenburg come together. Suguda shouted, I don't have any objections. Missouri said, then I know. You say so much, as if you don't want to. Sister is really not frank. Wisconsin chuckled. Wisconsin has been in the governor's house for so many days, but he hasn't had much of a good conversation. After talking for a while today, Sugu felt that the relationship between them was much closer. That's it for fishing. It's not much different from chasing a girl. It's undoubtedly much easier to have a girl's best friend or sister as a wingman and helper. Sue, I heard that you and Missouri often bully Hindenburg. Nonsense. Sugu thought to herself that it was just a little trick with Missouri occasionally. Hindenburg's shy look in a maid outfit was really cute. Her figure was really good, and a bunny girl costume would be perfect. Now, love sweaters, backless sweaters, etc. are not available yet, we can only wait until later. I'm not talking about you, Wisconsin said, I want to say, let's bully her together. Sugu didn't know what expression he should show, so he was silent for a moment. Okay. It's so boring, Wisconsin said. Sugu thought for a while and said, besides our townhouse, there is another townhouse in the county. There is an admiral there. He has been an admiral for many years. Unfortunately, there is only one Kaohsiung. Otherwise, let's wait someday. How about we go play with him? There's only one Kaohsiung, Wisconsin said, there can't be such a bad admiral. Ask Missouri, she's seen it. Missouri nodded. Wisconsin thought for a moment and said, with an admiral like you, it's not surprising to have an admiral like him. Sugu also told the story of the 100% boat fishing game he and Akage played on the cruise ship when he went to find Washington and others. Just play like this, Wisconsin nodded, and she thought about it again with a bright look on her face. He, it seems that it can be improved a little bit. First of all, while everyone was talking, suddenly there was a sound of ping 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 pong dash and everyone turned their heads. I saw Hood holding the ferocious big tiger high, and Kent stood beside him with tears in his eyes. However, she was much shorter than Hood, and she couldn't reach her ferocious tiger even when she stood on tiptoes. Hood, give it back to me. I don't want it from you. Why are you in such a hurry? Big tigers can't do it, really can't do it. Just look for balloons, anything will do. Kent, I don't understand what you are saying. No, it's not from there. The sound came from the kitchen of the cafe. Something must have been thrown. Wisconsin stood up, I'm going to see what's going on. Missouri didn't move. She asked Sugu, do you know what Wisconsin likes? Sugu thought of the conversation just now, I understand. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Sugu said, you are so sinister. I also like to go to the theater and watch the excitement. Sugu looked at Wisconsin's back, thinking that his own excitement was included, and smiled when he talked about Mutsu's letter of apology and the public trial. It seems a bit scary. Missouri said, it's okay, that's enough. What kind of bread do you want? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 886. That said, after all, everyone didn't go to the garrison next door to do anything. It's not that my conscience noticed it, I really couldn't find any good reason. It's okay to dry the boat simply and crudely, but it's really not aesthetically pleasing. Think about it again, another way, such as counterattack. Exeter and Amethyst went to the wrong garrison when they came back. This way of showing off the boat may be good, wait until one day you are in the mood to take action. Several days passed, and it was mid-November. It's out, it's finally out. York City, Bumblebee, and Northampton walked into the coffee shop of the town hall as they talked. They went shopping in Chuangzhou and bought a lot of clothes and a large bag of magazines. In this era of the world, entertainment is so developed, and there are so many publishing houses and so many magazines filled into a big bag. The reason is that the magazines in the big bag are all the same. After all, there are so many people in the Toot Larry mansion, so of course there are many books. Not only everyone wants to read it, but half of them want to read it. When will it be their turn? It's just that you can buy many copies of the magazine, and it doesn't matter if you have one. There is only one admiral. This is a big problem that cannot be solved. Let me see. I'll take one too. Take it and look outside, don't crowd in here. Violent girl, peanut stew, white-haired devil girl, how dare you rob me, give it back to me. Why are magazines so popular? It's not that everyone is empty, the reason is that this is no ordinary magazine. Everyone returned to the tutelage, and the company naturally returned to the ship girl branch. The newspaper came out the next day, and published an exciting news, the biggest victory over the ship girl since the appearance of the ship girl. Appeared, effectively increasing the influence of the ship girl headquarters. But after so many days, the magazine belatedly came to tell the story of the beginning, process, and end of this great naval battle in a very large space. Andrea grabbed a copy and saw that she turned the page and there was a photo of Kamikaze from the deep sea. Ko, this is Kamikaze from the deep sea, do you know? Ko responded, yeah. You have no idea how good she is, Andrea said. I know, Ko muttered, sister, you have said it many times. What did you say? Andrea's face bulged and she glanced dissatisfied at her sister. A man who knows the current affairs is a wise man. Kaio said quickly, sister, please continue, I haven't heard enough. Veneto didn't need to lift a finger, she had the little angel Carmichael. AVL, what are you in such a hurry for? Kamichia has always been rude to her sister. She has no self-consciousness about being a sister. How can Reputation, Xianghe, and Lexington treat her sister like that? Well, it would be better to say that her favorite thing to do is to sell her sister. She threatened to give it to the admiral to warm his bed countless times, even if it was just for a box of chocolates. She opened the magazine and said, Sister Veneto, look at it. Look at it, milk is really something that children drink. The more people think about it, the more children they are. They don't like drinking wine, and the taste of juice and cola is a little bit worse. Veneto held it the black teacup, this one is more classy, she is not in a hurry. Kamichia turned to a page and saw a group photo there. Although she had already seen the photo, everyone took a lot of photos. Later, the company took the film and quickly sent it over to Leipzig for development. After that, everyone in the town guard mansion had seen it, but they were still enjoying it, and they passed by one, Firefly, Z31, Lafite, Fantasy, Ayanami, Shakia, and then the big sister. Hey, I suddenly realized, sister, why are you here? Kamichia looked at the group photo and noticed something was wrong. Several deep-sea flagships were lying on the sea, and others stood behind them in 3 rows. The short elementary school destroyers stood in the first row, the middle row contained mostly girlish light cruisers and heavy cruisers, and the last row contained tall battleships. Veneto heard Kamichia's words, and her face suddenly turned livid. She thought that she really didn't want to take any group photos at that time, but it would be too unkind to think that she was the only one not to take any photos. It's definitely not possible to stand in the back, so there's only one place. The unloyal North Carolina was unwilling to change into a Lolita form, so Andrea had to stand in the middle row, so she had to do it. Intentional or unintentional. Anyway, Kamichia stretched out his finger and clicked on the first row of the group photo one by one, destroyer, destroyer, destroyer. He pointed at Veneto, battleship, no, destroyer, no. Surprise appeared on his face. Is Sister Veneto a destroyer battleship? Veneto clenched the ear of the black teacup and clenched her fist with the other hand. Her tone was cold and she said word by word, Camisianella. Vittorio Veneto. Maybe he thought Veneto was having fun with him, or maybe it was something else, but Kamichia followed every word. The Italian little Lolita is always together. The big Lolita Antonio lies on the table and whispers, Bugolini, Do you know how many ways to write the word death? Young and charming, Bugolini said, I don't know. I'll teach you. This time he was not run away. Veneto caught Camicia. Seeing the little lowly struggling and begging for mercy, he thought that she was still a child and didn't understand anything. Was he too careless? So 380 forget it if the 11mm cannon blows it away, just smash it in the butt. The blonde girl Saratoga sat curled up on the booth sofa. She was also looking at the group photo. No matter how many times I see it, Bazi, you look really stupid like that. Oh, her medium-long pink hair fell lazily on her shoulders. Bazi hugged the pillow and read the comics without being moved at all. She was not interested in the magazine at all. As an admiral, of course Sugu had a copy. He let go of the noisy M1, took the magazine and read it slowly, and suddenly became funny. What does it mean to win under the leadership of the ship girl headquarters without us guarding you? The government is nothing. I heard that they didn't put in any effort at all, they are just a bunch of guys who can only shout 666. The company has put in some effort, and there are several people who are pretty good. Helena sat next to Sugu and said, you said it yourself, you don't need any glory. Yeah, you don't need glory. It's better to do something good. All the glory belongs to the ship girl headquarters. The ship girl headquarters needs face the most. Of course, there are conditions, such as a generous reward. Sugu thought for a while. When the reward resources will be delivered, I will start building a lot. I haven't built it for a long time, almost more than a year. Helena said, I think it's better not to waste resources. There are already so many people in the town hall. It's a rare opportunity, Sugu said. As an admiral, how can you not build it? You're an African. Am I still an African? Sugu was proud. The first time was York City, the second day was CV-16, both times were battleships. Who can be more European than me? Helena hummed. She had to admit, it was indeed amazing. Sugu said, otherwise, let's make a bet. How to bet? Helena asked. 10 chances to see if I can build a capital ship. Sugu leaned into Helena's ear. As for the bet, let's do it. If I win, you will. Shameless Helena no longer knew what it meant to be blushing and her heartbeat was beating. She patted Sugu on the shoulder and said, winning or losing, I will be the one who suffers, okay. Sugu smiled. He didn't say much. It was just a joke. He looked longingly. There should be no problem in Wisconsin. I believe in Missouri. Then let's build a Rome or an empire. Of course it's best to do both. Venet, it must be interesting to see their expressions, two traitorous sisters. Otherwise, it would be the Duke of York, or King George V. Think about it, it would be King George V. George V. The eldest brother is not bad at all. Stop daydreaming, Helena said, the most I see is boats. It doesn't matter even if it's a small ship, Sugu said, any destroyer Converse, Dyson, or Claxton will do. Or a U-96 or something like that. Oh, this doesn't require so much. No matter, any submarine is good, I'm not greedy. Idle on tour again. Idols on the heavy tour are also good, Sugu said. Des Moines is good, and there are also Moscow and other places. I think it's at most a family, not a village. Helena suddenly coughed and shut up quickly because she saw Atago next to her and didn't know if she heard him. Sugu closed the magazine, looked at the cover and said, this time, the last time, and the last time, not to mention the leaders of the ship girl headquarters, it is our family that suppressed so many deep-sea flagships. Is it the world now? Have you become famous? How is that possible? Helena said. Not to mention, without the participation of the ship girl headquarters, why would the ship girl headquarters help us publicize it? Our town has no publicity channels. Without publicity, who would know about us? Sugu actually knew the answer. He didn't need Helena to tell him. He held the back of his head with his hands and looked up at the ceiling. Then one day, Many ship girls will hear the news and join our garrison. It turns out that the anxious public is good. Brother Yaisugu, I have admired you for a long time. After saying that, I bowed my head and bowed, but I couldn't hold you back. I said you thought too beautifully. Helena said, our garrison is very famous now, and not a single person comes to vote. Does being stubborn count? Sugu looked to the side and saw Daifeng sitting by the window, holding a book in both hands, and Buten wearing a white skirt sitting opposite her, looking at the sea. This girl had already called herself Admiral, but it was just verbally. I don't know if there was any real recognition. Now the stinking problem is a little better, but it's not much better, and it still needs to be adjusted. Buletintiao, barely. Helena saw Sugu's focused eyes and followed his line of sight to see Buletintiao, and was a little jealous. She's pretty, right? Sugu said bluntly, I don't know why, but I really like the tear mole in the corner of her eye. It feels like the finishing touch. Any ideas? Don't make me sound like a pervert who has ideas about everything. Sugu felt aggrieved and spoke before Helena could speak. Don't talk about Mutsu anymore, it's over. Helena had really planned to talk about Mutsu. When she heard Sugu's words, she curled her lips and said, you dare to act, but you are afraid to say it after you do it. Sugu said, I always feel that you will remember it forever. Of course. Sugu thought to herself, woman, you need to clear up the accounts at any time for things like sesame seeds and rotten millet. Sugu continued to flip through the magazine and couldn't help but complain, what is the cyanotic Valkyrie of the deep sea? Isn't she just a model worker? The Crimson Calamity, this sounds cool, isn't it just red cabbage? There are also unparalleled ones. The brave man of the deep sea is obviously the girl from the instant noodles. In order to highlight the strength of the enemy, the company can also boast. And here Sugu pointed to the number of deep sea ship girls sunk listed in the magazine. Really, every time I see this, I feel it's too exaggerated. There are so many deep sea ship girls, you really sunk them. Are there so many deep sea ship girls? It feels like they were filled in casually. It's just a little bit of water, it's just a sponge. How bold the people are, how productive the land is. Sugu thought to himself, some countries will do anything to achieve GDP. When I was in college, I could pay for the poverty subsidy with just a few hundred yuan from my family's monthly income, but I didn't believe it. Helena said, there is no water in this number, really? Actually, I don't know if there is one. I didn't participate in the statistics. Anyway, the louder the blow, the better. The stronger the enemy, the greater our contribution. Helena leaned on the back of the chair. She used to work in the company's monthly office. The Chinese command team knows all the twists and turns. This is how we can claim credit from the human government and ask them for money. The admiral's monthly salary and resources come from the ship girl headquarters. The ship girl headquarters itself also has many things that require money and resources. Where do these things come from? Some of it comes from our own industries, such as shipyards, fishing companies, transportation companies, security companies, etc., and a lot of it comes from the support of human governments. We cannot just ask everyone to protect routes and coastal cities, and then not send a penny outside. Dig. Sugu suddenly looked at Helena, but said nothing. Helena called Sugu, Admiral. Lion doesn't have a garrison yet. Yeah, Helena nodded. Sugu said, I suddenly thought that if it was a lion, she should be working at the ship girl headquarters. Maybe she would be engaged in work dealing with the human government, such as a diplomat or something, or maybe it would be the external image of the ship girl headquarters. Being an ambassador and the like, responsible for attending various meetings and banquets, it feels good to be a proud and gorgeous queen. Sugu held up the magazine and smiled, well, maybe she is also reading this magazine while we are reading it. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 887. Sugu was still looking forward to the Lion, the only wedding ship he had yet to return to the town hall. Although I have never seen what she looks like in real life, the appearance of the ship girl cannot be worse, and I heard from everyone that she is a super beauty. Anyway, if you think about the vertical painting, it's really great. Tits, no, where justice prevails, freedom must prevail. A pair of long legs is also an invincible existence. In the first sequence, Yuxian has bare legs, Scharnhorst has over-the-knee boots, Wisconsin has black stockings, and she has white stockings. The admiral and the ship's wife have a mysterious connection. He suddenly remembered Veneto and the others before, but then he found them as soon as he got off the ship and searched. Sugu believed in his feeling, and the Lion Club would return to the garrison soon. It's just that he is confident, but Helena is different. She doesn't mind pouring cold water. I also want the Lion to return to the townhouse, but as you said, she is also reading magazines, which is absolutely impossible. Why not? Helena said, Prince Eugen went to Sichuan show yesterday, but York City and the others are going to Sichuan show today. The magazine will come out. Even if it takes some time for the magazine to be delivered, it has not been published for a few days anyway. The Lion is definitely not in our garrison. It should be nearby, otherwise how could it not be found now? In this case, how could she see this magazine if she was in a faraway place? It makes sense when you think about it. Sugu nodded. It's not a magazine, it's something else. Whether it's a newspaper or a battle report, I think she must know about us. Helena said, you are really confident. Why not? Sugu smiled. Helena suddenly said, Admiral, I find you look so handsome when you are confident. Sugu paused, then turned to Helena and was silent for a moment. That's what I'm saying to you, I'll flip your sign tonight. Whether it is an office in the county seat, or a branch of the ship girl in any big city, such as the Sichuan Jiu Department, the Yuehua Department, the Zhenjiang Department, etc., most people refer to these as the ship girl headquarters, mainly out of habit. In fact, there is a real ship girl headquarters, which manages all ship girl branches, garrison offices, military police, naval academies that train admirals and ship girls around the world, or front-line general bases, etc. It is located in the suburb of a city called Heisei, occupies a small area. At this time, in the ship girl's headquarters, there was a beautiful blonde woman sitting on a wicker chair on the balcony of the small building near the sea, holding a book and reading, bathing in the sunshine, lazily enjoying the rare leisure time. She is Hood. Although quite rare, there are still several battle cruisers Hood in a world as large as the world. Among so many Hoods, she is definitely the oldest among them. No, it would be better to say the most mature one, the one who has been awake the longest. Many years ago, when the deep-sea ship girl just appeared, she woke up from the sea. She went through the dark ages and witnessed too many tragedies. Finally, she decided to do something and established the ship girl headquarters together with many ship girls and admirals. As one of the founders of Kenmei headquarters, he was and still is a natural high-level person. Seagulls were circling in the sky, and the sea breeze was blowing the green grass. She finished reading a chapter, put down the book, touched the fat orange cat sleeping on her legs together, and reached out to take it from the cake stand on the small white round table in front of her. A piece of cranberry scone, eating while looking out at the blue sea in the distance. No matter from any angle, no matter from any detail, her movements and sitting posture are worthy of a noble and elegant British aristocrat. Squeak. As the door opened, Hood looked towards the living room and saw his housekeeper and secretary, the light cruiser Penelope. He saw a tall woman wearing a long skirt with long golden curly hair, and a follower. Next to her, a woman wearing a black suit and skirt with blonde hair tied into a ponytail said, Lion, and avant-garde, are you back? The Lion replied, I'm back. Hood asked, how is it? It's still the same. She rubbed his forehead. His job was to travel to various countries as an ambassador to express the demands and attitudes of the ship girl headquarters. To be honest, it was a bit tiring. The Queen Elizabeth will stay there, no problem. She is very capable now. Lion walked into the balcony. Without any courtesy, she pulled up a wicker chair and sat down opposite Hood. Hood looked the Lion up and down, held his chin with his hands, and smiled. I still think you look good in that outfit, with a crown on your head, a lion's head scepter in your hand, lantern-sleeved ruffled gloves, a low V, and layers of a white long skirt with a large hem and white garters. It's so beautiful, it's better to say it's gorgeous, like a proud queen. Holding the black tea, Hood suddenly burst into laughter. It's just too revealing, it's almost like a sexy costume. Instead of being frustrated, the Lion smiled and glanced at Hood's chest. Hood, one cat is not enough, 2 cats are better. After knowing each other for so long, Hood knew that Lion had a former partner and sister who was also a Hood, and did something that ruined the reputation of all Hoods. I am not her, and I don't stuff cats. The Lion was non-committal. She suddenly missed the Hood she knew. Compared with the Hood in front of her, his abilities were weaker. He was just a mascot of the Royal Navy. He could do nothing except petting cats and having afternoon tea. He had to serve with reputation, but his combat ability it was much stronger, unlike the Hood in front of him who was sitting at the ship's headquarters, rarely making an attack. Kinway sat next to the Lion. She didn't speak. She also missed her former partner Hood. The past was still vivid in her mind, but they hadn't seen each other for several years. She didn't know how she was doing now. The Lion was framed. Hood did not continue to defend herself. She got down to business. Don't blame me for calling you back. I mainly have an important task for you. What mission? The Lion asked. Where are you going again? Simple but not simple. The main thing is to issue rewards, and other than that, it is to award medals. Hood thought for a moment and said, a special distinguished combat cross. Lion knew what the medal in Hood's words represented, the highest level medal. She asked, what happened while I was away? Minister of the Uehua Department, do you know the Enterprise? I know her, said the Lion. She is incredible now, and I won't be able to hold her head high if I see her again in the future. Hood said, she has achieved such a brilliant record quietly. She continued, on the ENS department, we are still fighting for Fortress Surge and Deep Sea Bismarck. Deep Sea Tirpitz is not moving at all. It is rare for a home girl to move. Deep Sea Hindenburg is quite weak. Deep Sea Barbarossa, there was a big problem with their durability. When I was worried about them, I suppressed 7 Deep Sea flagships, 7 in total, Deep Sea Yamato Musashi, Deep Sea Shokaku Wikaku, Deep Sea Ryajo, Deep Sea Slow Monkey, and Deep Sea Kamikaze in one go. On the surface, he is calm, but in fact he is very surprised in his heart. Lion knows that the Deep Sea flagship that Hood mentioned is not simple at all, which ship girl branch of the company is so powerful. Hood naturally had accurate information. There was no exaggeration, no moisture, and it was not the kind of publicity. Her ship girl branch is not that powerful. It usually has no problem dealing with 1 or 2 deep sea flagships, but there are so many of them it's totally impossible. That's the help from those admirals, Lion said. I'm just responsible for awarding them honors. Hood replied, yeah. Unlike a certain dean who is war-weary, Hood is still young at heart even though he is about the same age. She said mischievously, guess how many garrison houses were mobilized. Lion didn't like guessing riddles, so she didn't speak. Kinway spread his fingers and said, 40. At least that much. No, not that many. Hood raised a finger. 1 family, just 1 townhouse. There are also some townhouses that send people, but they are just joining in the fun. To be precise, they are really 1 family. Kinway was curious, why is the garrison so powerful? Hood said, a monster garrison. Hood remembered something, and she waved, Penelope, bring those things over here. Penelope took a file bag from the living room, and Hood took out a stack of papers from it. It was a detailed battle report and a stack of photos. She didn't hand it over in a hurry. She first found a few photos and placed them on the small round table. They were single photos of Yamato Fukumai and Musashi. These are Yamato Fukumai and Musashi. They look very oppressive. If it's just that the new ship girls don't have the courage to fire when they see them. The lion took the photo and the vanguard tilted his body to look at it. Then you look at these two pictures. Hood was very interested, and she took out two more photos. The first one showed Musashi Fukumai kneeling on the sea, and the other one showed Yamato Fukumai lying on the sea. Although you can't see his face, you can tell from his white hair and figure. The lion changed the photo and looked at it. The last one is this one. These two are the funniest, Hood said with a smile on his face. Even though he had seen it several times, he still laughed every time he saw it. The lion felt a little strange. Hood usually paid attention to his image, but he was like this today. She picked up the photo and saw a pink-haired girl wearing a rabbit ear headband. Her left hand was holding the shoulder of Musashi Fukumai, who had a face full of grief, and her right hand was making scissor hands. Their faces were touching each other, like good friends. In another picture, a fat man with long white wavy hair is sitting on Yamato Fukumai, as if he were sitting on a chair, holding a pen between the fingers and middle fingers of his right hand as a cigarette. How was it? Hood asked amusedly. Is it fun? Lion didn't seem to hear Hood's words at all. She stared at the two bright girls in the photo. They were familiar, too familiar. She murmured to herself, Raiders, and South Dakota Fatty. We haven't seen each other for a long time, so Kinway wasn't sure. It's very similar to them. The lion frowned. Hood, let me take a look at the rest of the photos. Hood handed over the photo. Most of these people here are the ship girls from the guardhouse. She looked through the photos and ignored those deep-sea ship girls, only caring about those ship girls. North Home and Saratoga. Wichita. The woman with medium-length white hair, the woman with long brown wavy hair, I don't know. Rabbit Princeton. Dumpling Essex and her chatty bald eagle, is that what Belmacon is called? North House, Bismarck, and Prince Eugen. The woman with short blonde hair smiled silly and did not recognize her. It seems to be Richelieu. Why has he gained so much weight and grown so much, and why has his butt become so much bigger? Shokaku and Ziwikaku. Wait, Ziwikaku has a ring on his finger? Andrea. Fletcher. The girl with the straight bangs, is she Akagya? How can she be so girly? I remember her breasts are not that big, maybe not. A group photo, Firefly, Z31, Lawfight, Fantasy, Ayanami, Shikinami, and then Veneto. The more he looked at it, the more frightened he became. One or two figures might be accidental, but there were so many of them, so definitely not. Kinway looked at the lion and whispered, it can't really be them. She was silent for a moment, then she said, Hood, you just mentioned the garrison. Do you have a photo of the admiral of that garrison? Yes, Hood said. Penelope, bring the other thing. Hood noticed something was wrong with the lion's expression, and so did the vanguard. She asked, is there any problem? There's no answer yet, there's no certainty, and the lion doesn't want to say anything. Penelope left and came back quickly. She took a look at Hood and gave the file bag in her hand to the lion. Hood said, it contains all the information about the garrison, including the admirals. If you are going to be awarded a medal, you must understand it in advance. Lion opened the file bag and a photo fell to the ground. She picked it up and saw a man in a white admiral uniform standing in the shade of a tree with a straight face and a serious expression. She took out everything in the portfolio and scanned a photo, and memories came flooding back from her heart like a tide. Huda introduced, his name is Sugu. He used to study at Chuangzhou Naval Academy and later became an admiral. It has been 3 years now. He is obviously just a new admiral. Why there are so many ship girls, no one knows. I think it doesn't make sense. The company is joking that he has 100% talent in bailing out ships, otherwise there is no way to explain the reason. Tell me why I asked you to come back and why I asked you to be awarded the honor. Hood said, if I were him, I would be very proud if I had such a powerful garrison, so many ship girls, and suppressed so many deep-sea flagships. What a ship girl headquarters is, it's not worth mentioning at all. You are the most highly trained ship girls in our ship girl headquarters, and your equipment is so good. Not only that, Lion, no one has a better temperament than you. Avant, the queen of our training ground, no one is yours opponent. Huda smiled. My idea is to wait until the awarding is over, find an excuse to practice with the ship girl from that garrison, and then win beautifully, kill with vigor, and let him know about our ship girl headquarters. It's so powerful, it's not that simple. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 888. When I was a child, I didn't like taking naps. It wasn't enough when I played, so how could I waste it? Since graduating from college and working, Sugu has taken a long nap every day, ranging from 20 to 30 minutes at least, and I can't tell you how much longer. I have to say that people cannot accept old age. In the past, I would basically fall asleep on the desk at the company. Nowadays, there are many places to take a nap. I have work in the morning, and after work I go back to my room to take a nap. Otherwise, they would hang out in a room on a wedding ship and not leave until they feel like sleeping at noon. Among them, she has the most rooms in Bismarck because she shares a room with the sisters in the Bazai. Sugu also liked Bazai, and Bazai often stayed in his room, which was just right. Occasionally I take a nap in Xiaozhe's room, of course, just to hold Xiaozhe while sleeping. The drunkard didn't care about drinking. He thought he had taken this into consideration when he helped her prepare the room and the bed, and chose a large double bed. Although Lexington didn't think it was necessary, he spent a lot of effort to explain to her that the bed was bought as soon as it was purchased, and it would be inconvenient to change it later. Besides, there were so many little girls in the town hall, they might sleep together, and they would be older anyway. Correct. When Suk Bader and Odin left the garrison, they were put into a container and sent back to the garrison. That container was not returned, thrown away, or left at the dock. Now it is placed under a big magnolia tree in the town guard mansion, and it has become a secret base for a group of little Lolita. It's just like a unicorn's secret garden, just behind the complex. Everyone knows that the secret base is not secret at all. In fact, once, they really planned to build a treehouse in the woods outside the townhouse as a secret base, but their hands-on ability was a little poor after all. This container is also where Sugu likes to take a nap. The reason is self-evident, and he is here today. My Optimus Prime, run quickly. Can't lose, Deathwing. Nephilim, you are the most powerful and you are the fastest. Use the whirlwind to charge the tornado. Haha, a bunch of weaklings, I won, it was my Hong Kong reporters who won. Yes. I'm second. They had just had lunch, and Sugu was not ready to go to sleep, otherwise it would be too heavy on the stomach and intestines, so he just decided to take a nap here. He looked at the little Lolita jumping around and listened to their yelling, thinking that he shouldn't buy them some wind-up frogs. There is a question that little Loli wants. With her big eyes blinking, she has no way to refuse. The master is the fastest in the garrison. If Tashkent didn't know it, you guy would actually lose. You only wanted to hold the clockwork frog that you couldn't live up to, and you felt unhappy for a while. Sitting on the bench guardrail under the big magnolia tree, Sugu looked at the cute little Loli and suddenly felt an itch in his heart. Which of you has the slowest frog? Z17 replied, Cushing. Sugu saw the blonde girl and waved, Cushing, if you lose, it's you. Come here. See you. Seeing heard Sugu's words and quickly walked to his side, wondering, Admiral, why did you call me? Nothing to do, Sugu said, let me rub your face. Why? It has been 2 years since he came to the governor's mansion. Cushing has long regarded Sugu as his admiral, and he is still the first in his mind, even Princeton is behind him. After all, in front of the little lowly killer, no little lowly can survive, and no one can surpass him. However, he can attack for the admiral, even if he is doomed to sink, it doesn't matter, but he still doesn't like things like touching his head or rubbing his face. Sugu said, because you lost. Cushing was surprised and thought that she had never said that the admiral would rub her face if she lost the Clockwork Frog competition, but seeing the matter-of-fact expression on Sugu's face, she hesitated. The energetic girl liked it the most. Sugu stretched out his hand and rubbed Cushing's face. The feeling couldn't be better. Okay, you can go. Z-18 shouted from the side, Cushing, are you coming? Come on. Cushing returned to her team and twisted the Clockwork Frog, but she was still confused. U-81 teased her 3 wolves, who circled around her. Only these unconventional creatures might have survived in the garrison. Oscar the ginger fish cake, Belmac and the bald eagle, and other small animals could not stand up to 2 twists and turns. I had raised hamsters and rabbits in my dreams. The hamster was okay, but the rabbit couldn't be any more miserable. It turned into a beggar rabbit and was eventually sacrificed in the temple of our 5 internal organs. Master Suk Batol so rarely went fishing, and Odin didn't have to protect the fishermen. She looked at the comic book, looked at Sugu, and asked in a low voice, Admiral, is it really not possible? Sugu replied, no, really not. Odin let out a long sigh and continued reading the comics, his eyes full of reluctance. Sugu admitted that he could not be absolutely fair. His favorite person in the guardhouse was Xiaozai. He took the initiative to help her make many toy swords and other things. The other little Lolita only helped occasionally. But no matter what, there will never be a time when the little Loli begs me to help but refuses, so partial. In a world without the internet, or even television, Chuangziu could use the radio to listen to the wireless broadcasts, but it was not interesting. The governor's mansion was located in a remote place, so he couldn't hear it even if he wanted to. When I was bored, I fell in love with handcrafting. Now I have become a craftsman. I can arrange aquariums and make bows and arrows without much problem. Making spear guns and slingshots is just trivial, but what about a set of Transformers Titan armor? Yes, there is really no way to do this. It is too difficult. Lafitte and Mahan lost several games of checkers in a row and left in humiliation. She was not very good at this kind of game that purely tests skills and does not rely on luck. Admiral, let's play checkers, Mahan greeted Sugu. Sugu agreed happily, okay. Mahan said, Admiral, let's talk first. If you lose, take off some clothes. What did you say? Sugu opened his eyes wide and spoke carefully. He was thinking about stripping games and so on. He had also played with everyone, but it was only limited to the wedding ship. Playing with little Lolita and so on was not that perverted. It's still autumn now, the weather is a bit colder, the fans have been put away, and the air conditioning in the cafe has been turned off. However, everyone still wears very little, and no matter what piece of clothing or trousers they are, they cannot be missing. If it's winter, it's still okay, and the remaining autumn clothes and autumn trousers are enough, and you can put them away as soon as you are ready. After thinking about it, it really doesn't work at any time. However, Mahan didn't care and even increased his voice, Admiral, I say, if you lose, take off your clothes. Sugu was expressionless. I will tell Washington what happened today and let her teach you a lesson. You're kidding. Lexington doesn't use violence and can only reason. Washington is different. He definitely doesn't mind punishing people, Mahan said quickly. She thought again, Admiral, let me touch you and give you a hug, okay? Don't tell Sister Washington, okay? Sugu took a deep breath and gave Mahan a hard lesson. He stopped playing checkers. He reached out and took out a few checkers, which were marbles. He walked aside and said, Xiaozai, let me play one. Xiaozai responded, oh. Xiaozai lay on the ground, with his butt raised high, he aimed at the target and made a gesture, then curled his fingers to pop out his marbles. It's just that the calculation was very good, but it was wrong by 1,000 miles. It was indeed the mistake of the pebble on the cement floor. It's my turn. Rodney had just joined the garrison and stayed by Nelson's side most of the time. He was doing much better now. I saw her squatting on the ground, gently flicking the marbles. At this moment, Sugu understood clearly who was the German barbarian and who was the British lady. It was clear from the way they played marbles. Therefore, time is not fast or slow, but is closely related to people's mood. When you enjoy what you are doing and are in a happy mood, you will feel that time flies by and a day is no more than the blink of an eye. When he won all the little loli's marbles, Sugu looked at his pocket watch. It had been so long and he was almost ready to sleep. Xiaozai, go to bed. Go to sleep. Xiaoluo. I am not sleepy. Sugu glanced around, and there seemed to be no little loli who wanted to sleep. Arresting people by force would have a negative impact, but luring them with benefits was just barely possible. In the past, he promised Nuaspi a large glass of beer. Successfully achieved the goal. After thinking about it, I decided to forget it and go to sleep first. Maybe when I wake up, there will be little Lolita sleeping around me. Lying in the container, he found that the place was really luxurious. It was covered with cotton pads and mats, and there were several pillows and many big dolls. Fairy tale books and comic books were scattered around, and there was also a large cardboard box. No one else is allowed to touch Lord Sukbaytolsu's royal bed. It was not a good dream. When Sugu woke up and sat up and looked around, there was no little loli around him. However, he unexpectedly found Saratoga sleeping next to him, with his long blonde hair messy. He recalled the first day the two met. He slept alone in the living room at night. When he woke up the next day, he found a girl wearing only underwear next to him. There was not much love, only fright. It must have been several years since that time. Time flies so fast. Thinking of this, he reached out to brush aside the girl's bangs and kissed her forehead. When he was about to kiss her lips, he heard a voice. Someone is playing rogue. Sugu turned around and saw Mutsu sitting at a stone table outside the container, holding a book in his hand, a cartoon book, probably just for boredom, and smiled sarcastically. Admiral, what are you doing? Mutsu winked. Nothing, Sugu defended, Jia is my wedding ship. Mutsu put his index finger on his lips and said, if the Admiral wants to, there is one here. There is no need to sneak up on people while they are sleeping. Okay, Sugu is not a vegetarian. In fact, since the first time, he immediately started teasing Mutsu again. Mutsu said, come on. Do you still want to write a self-reflection letter again? Sugu surrendered, forget it. In broad daylight, not in the room, not between the tall bookcases in the library, not on top of the lighthouse, not behind the power distribution room. It's not that the classrooms in the complex are empty, but there are people coming and going around, which is still a bit stressful. I don't have the courage. Mutsu smiled, actually, I don't dare. It's so difficult to write a self-examination letter. I thought about it for a long time and didn't know how to write it. I asked Daifeng for help, but she was unwilling no matter what. I wouldn't agree to it unless there is some benefit. Consultant Su said, what did you promise her? Dessert. It's not tempting. Where are the snacks? Sugu said, but it's okay. Can't everyone see what Daifeng wrote? If you turn it in and are found, I might fine you 10,000 words. Be honest. Admitting your mistakes is better than anything else. What do I admit? Mutsu said, it's obviously the admiral's fault. Sugu said, I didn't even move, you come and kiss me yourself. Mutsu said, such a cute, handsome, and attractive admiral makes people unable to help themselves. I admit the facts you said. I'm not ashamed, but I like and will always like the admiral. After Mutsu laughed, she thought of the public trial again and complained, no one spoke for me. Akage, Shoukeku, and Ziwikaku didn't speak either. It's really terrible. No conscience at all. I asked you, how do you usually behave? I'm obviously a good person, Mutsu muttered. Sugu said bluntly, sluts are never popular. Mutsu lay on the table and looked at Sugu and blinked, do you like it, Admiral? Sugu said nothing. It doesn't feel as good as Missouri. She is much better than me, and Wisconsin. Mutsu suddenly sighed, Missouri has helpers, why hasn't my Nagato sister come over yet? You gave her all the 23 guns. Do you know how much a 23 is worth? She must have absconded. Sugu was naturally joking. Mutsu said, maybe something delayed me, so I haven't been here for so long. Actually, it hasn't been that long. It's only been like this for more than a month now. That's been a long time, Mutsu said. Anyway, I must punish her and tease her when the time comes. Brother-in-law, when did you get up? Saratoga's voice made her wake up and grab her hair. Sugu said, just now. What are you doing? Saratoga looked at Sugu and Mutsu with suspicion. I didn't do anything, Sugu said, as you can see, we just chatted. Sheng Sheng came over at this time and brought a telegram with him. There were not many words on the telegram, but Sugu still understood what it meant. The rewards belonging to the garrison were finally obtained, and someone from the ship girl headquarters came to prepare to award him a medal. In addition, there is still trouble finding. Saratoga saw Sugu's sharp eyes. Brother-in-law, what's the matter? Sugu didn't explain much, it's a good thing. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 889. Enterprises stand on the seaside embankment, the avant-garde wins. Standing silently next to her was the lion, wearing a gorgeous long dress like a queen. Are you relieved? The Enterprise nodded, don't worry. She looked at the gallant woman with blonde hair in ponytail and a knight's outfit walking up the steps from the sea to the embankment, and praised her without hesitation. The avant-garde is really amazing. Kinway brushed his bangs and lowered his head, it's nothing special. You are nothing, so who am I to lose to you? One after another, following the vanguard up the embankment was a woman with short black hair, a humble ant, or a paramecium. Qian Feng explained, it's just a fluke. Even though he lost, he didn't have any resentment. It would be too bad if he didn't have such a big heart. The black-haired woman smiled, okay, don't be too humble. Excessive modesty is tantamount to pride. But with such strength, it's nothing to be proud of. If you don't accept it, come and fight, and you will be convinced after one fight. The company saw the black-haired woman, who was the leader of the combat team under her command. Her training level was much higher than that of a person who rarely appeared on the battlefield after becoming a so-called leader. She was equipped with Mk6 and Type 91. The armor-piercing bullets are so luxurious, and they are not too bad. They actually lost so badly in the exercise. They were disgraced and embarrassed. How was it? What else can I do? The black-haired woman said, Sister, where did you find this person? The company said, he's from the ship girl headquarters. That's amazing. The black-haired woman rubbed her forehead and nodded self-righteously, well, although the ship girl headquarters has a better background than our little ship girl branch, the one who can defeat me must be someone from the battle team of the ship girl headquarters. Be the ace. Qian Feng said, I'm just a little secretary and assistant. No way. The black-haired woman had quite a bit of humor, and her expression turned serious. I finally believe it, and it turns out it's true. Those novels changed the map, and the boss of the human world ascended to the fairy world and became a random person. An ant crushed to death by accident. Those of us in the ship girl branch, even if we were originally eldest sisters, we immediately become little sisters when we are transferred to the ship girl headquarters. It's scary. You were poisoned by reading novels, the company said. When you came back today, I hurriedly called you over and didn't introduce you properly. They are from the ship girl headquarters, but they are not from the combat team, but they are here to distribute the awards, and the people who were decorated. She was the battleship Vanguard, and then this was the battleship Lion, the battleship Lion. Everyone introduced themselves. The company said, actually, apart from what I said, they also came here for the purpose of finding trouble. They wanted to teach someone like Sugasu a lesson and let him know that there are people in our ship girl headquarters, so that they would not have to know that the sky is high and the sky is high and the earth is high and the sky is high. Dotty Dada is my biggest stinker. When the lion heard the words of the Enterprise, he frowned subconsciously, and finally said nothing. I have already asked the company's admiral named Sugu about various things, but he did not reveal his identity. The reason is that he has not seen the real person, so he is still worried. Even a little scared. What if it turns out not to be the case? I feel that Mr. Su is still very humble. The black-haired woman knew Sugu and had talked to him a lot. After all, he was a famous person to some extent. He's just pretending in front of you. She is polite because she is unfamiliar, and unscrupulous because she is familiar. The black-haired woman is worried. Sister, to be honest, I am a little worried about you. Don't let someone take you away at any time. We can't do it without you. Don't worry, I'm not Missouri, I can't be kidnapped so easily. The company suddenly said angrily, that bastard Missouri, you must forget your sisters and best friends when you have a man. I remember Missouri hadn't become a wedding ship yet. Yes, not yet, but it should be soon. The company said, there is no truly pure relationship between a man and a woman. The two of them are so close, and the only thing left to do is to open the window. The Lion and the Vanguard listened carefully and remembered a name, Missouri. The company reacted at this time. Lion and Kinwei came over yesterday. Although everyone is familiar with each other and there is no need to be too polite, chatting as if there is no one around is really not good. She coughed and made a ha-ha. I heard you say it yesterday. I shook my head. Maybe the education was not successful, but I lost face. It must have been too messy. I remember I mentioned it before. All the ship girls are monsters. But now that the most powerful of our ship girls branch is back, she is still being beaten. It seems that I was wrong. Don't say just press and hit, there is still going back and forth. The black-haired woman naturally participated in the previous sea battle. She thought about it, although my practice is not very good, I still have a bit of vision. If you are avant-garde, whether it's Bismarck, Bizai, Prestige, the Prince of Wales, Washington, Richelieu, or whoever it is, regardless of accidents, no problem. When Kinwei heard the familiar names, his eyes suddenly lit up. Was he more powerful than everyone else? Just a moment later, her eyes dimmed. She was just the queen of the training ground, and she might be nothing on the battlefield. Otherwise, why had she never had a chance to attack before? The black-haired woman's attention suddenly focused on the lion, not knowing its strength. Sister Lion is very powerful. Kinwei noticed the black-haired woman's gaze and she spoke. Although historically speaking, this avant-garde is considered the predecessor of the Lion. However, the Lion was the Admiral's first high-speed battleship, and later became a wedding ship. He waited until Operation Valkyrie before joining the garrison. When the black-haired woman saw the lion, her eyes sparkled and she was eager to try. Suddenly thinking of something, Enterprise leaned on the railing of the embankment and laughed. It was almost afternoon when Sugu and his men rushed to the headquarters of the company where the company was located. The base area was actually Helena's old apartment. After sitting for a while, he led Missouri to the company's office. "You're finally here." Enterprise saw the two of them and said, "Hello, would you like halva?" Missouri took a piece, and Sugu replied, "No." Sugu sat down on the side chair next to the coffee table and got straight to the point. "What do you mean by finding trouble in the telegram? What do you think it means?" Enterprise leaned on the back of the sofa, crossed his legs, and took off half of the black high-heeled shoes on his feet, shaking them. Sugu expressed his guess. Enterprise nodded. "So did you bring anyone here?" "Bring it with me." Sugu breathed out. "Seriously, is the ship girl headquarters so arrogant? You actually want to educate me? Is it the arrogance of the ship girl headquarters, or is it the arrogance of a small admiral in a small town? The company is from the ship girl headquarters, not Sugu's ship girl. The main reason is that now she has a trump card." She sneered. "Do you really think you are the best in the world? You are so arrogant. Let me tell you the truth, the people from the ship girl headquarters are much better than your people. Who is so powerful in the ship girl headquarters? How come I don't know?" Missouri, who used to be a member of the battle team in the ship girl headquarters, questioned. The company said bluntly, "There are many things you don't know. You used to travel all over the world, but now you stay in the guardhouse and don't go out to care for your husband and raise children. Please explain clearly what it means to be a husband and a godson." The company doesn't explain. Sugu really wasn't too sure about the power of ship girl headquarters. Are they really that powerful? "Don't believe me?" Enterprise got up from the sofa and took the initiative to pour a cup of tea for Sugu. "Small gambling is good for your mood, but big gambling is harmful to your health. How about a little bet?" The company didn't need to explain it so clearly. Sugu knew what she meant. "What do you want to bet on?" "Hero machine." Missouri asked, "What else can you get?" "Shut up, Missouri." Enterprise glared at Missouri. This guy was difficult to deal with. She looked at Sugu again and hesitated. She really didn't have anything to offer. Finally, she thought about it and gritted her teeth. "Sug, I am in charge of so many ship girl branches, so many ship girls, you see. Tell me which one you win, and I will arrange for her to be sent to your garrison for the purpose of learning and so on. When the time comes, it will depend on your ability, whether you can make a profit or not." Missouri said, "Hey, Enterprise, when did you change your profession to be a human trafficker?" The company waved its hand. "At most, it's just a matchmaker." Missouri suddenly said, "How about choosing you?" "I think it will work," Sugu said with a smile. "No, I'm already old," Enterprise said. "I won't talk about the ship girls you already have. Mr. Sug, let me recommend a few to you. The battleship, the aviation battleship, the Fury? To be honest, I want to. It's a bit difficult to pick her up. Otherwise, the light cruiser Cleveland, she is very handsome. Has Missouri told you about Montpelier? She has the intention to join your garrison. I can transfer her from there. Come back and it will be easy then." Missouri said, "No, no, no, it's better for you, Enterprise. It's a famous heroic ship in history." Sugu said, "Your recommendation of the company is not sincere." Enterprise snorted, "It's right here. I seldom go out. Have you seen the Magatter-class destroyer Volta? There is also the destroyer Z-46, which is really a little cute. The Yahima department picked up a destroyer Clark's. Done, I plan to send him over and live here. Please explain to the others, it's really impossible to salvage the boat. If it's a little lowly, hey, Missouri, why are you asking me? I'm still beating you, pervert Lilicon. Missouri hit Sugu, it's just you, Enterprise. Enterprise looked at Sugu and started a fight. Su, you are the admiral, right? Does your word really matter, or is it from Missouri? Sugu lowered his head when he saw Missouri looking fierce. Missouri shrugged his shoulders and asked the Enterprise, how is it? Do you agree? Enterprise frowned. The historical Vanguard battleship was the last British battleship in World War II. It was built as a replacement for the Lion-class battleship that was discontinued. However, due to the ship's design drawings being revised many times due to the naval battle situation during the construction period, the construction was suspended several times during the war. After the construction was completed, it could only be used as a ceremonial review ship and a cruise ship for royal visits for a long time. The final Vanguard had the Royal Navy's strongest fire control and anti-aircraft design, but due to the emergency manufacturing plan, a large number of existing components were used instead of redeveloped. The power part is okay. It comes from the main engine originally ordered for the Lion-class battleship. The problem with the main gun is bigger. It all comes from the old ship of World War I. The firepower was once criticized as installing grandma's dentures on the new battleship. The image and ability of the ship girl largely come from people's memories. Just as many people complained that the creator of the world was Heidebuki, the firepower of the former ship was generally a bit low. Of course, unfortunately, her teeth were not dentures. I saw the Vanguard and the Lion in the morning. In addition to the firepower, the Vanguard is definitely an existence that can crush all living beings. Even in terms of firepower, the luxurious equipment makes up for this shortcoming. Although it is a big problem, it is enough. The average ship girl's armor is no more than 100, and it is not the deep-sea Tirpitz, which has 2, 3, or 3 armor. Okay, that's it, I'm just me. Enterprise nodded, but Sugu hesitated. He knows very well that the company is not a fool like Hindenburg. Unless it is fully confident, it will never take advantage of him. Although my ship girl is very strong, the world is so big, who knows what is there. He met the victory at the front line base before. Even though Colorado had such a high level of training, he still had to learn from her. He asked calmly, Enterprise, why didn't you see those people at the ship girl headquarters? I'm out, Enterprise said, or in my own room in the guest house. How much training do they have? The company naturally knew what Sugu was planning, and she said, I don't know. What model? Sugu thought to himself, if it were those old World War I ships with the ship's equipment parameters listed there would be no need to be afraid. I don't know. Enterprise held the teacup and took a sip of tea. You'll know when you see me. Consultant Su, what does it look like? The company said, it's just beautiful anyway. How could the ship girl not be beautiful? Thinking like this, Consultant Su asked, what's the hair color and figure like? The blonde girl with flat chest must be the Hood, and the white-haired little loli must be the Veneto. There are traces to follow. The company thought for a while and said, blonde hair, good figure, the one you like. There are so many blonde girls with good figures that I can't even count them casually. Consultant Su asked, what about your temperament? I can't say any more, and you can guess it. Enterprise shook his head. I'm talking about companies. Is it worth risking yourself for a hero plane? Sugu said, no, there is a question. What if you regret it later? The company laughed. She had really made up her mind. If she really lost, she would regret it later. Missouri said, you won the hero opportunity, but you regret it after losing. You are so shameless as a company. In fact, Sugu knew that this kind of bet was destined to be impossible. If the bet was really opened, even if he won, the company would not really join the town, and would definitely give him some benefits. It was really possible, she didn't know what she was thinking. If you ever thought about joining, it just happens to be a smooth sailing this time, so the possibility is very low. Then if I lose, I won't really want my hero machine. I'll just play for a month or two at most. Seriously, let's make some bets, the company said. I win, you can lend me the hero machine when you want to play. She straightened her legs and folded them together. I lost, you can use my legs as long as you want. How about touching it? Sugu refused simply. I don't want to write a self-criticism. Missouri angrily scolded Sugu, you are stupid, agree. Mutsu is a coward, and no one likes it. If you really have the opportunity to touch the thigh of the company, everyone will never be angry, but will praise you. Businesses ask, how? Being respectful is worse than obeying orders. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De-Rong Yan. Chapter 890. Sugu and Missouri left, and Enterprise sat alone in the office. As a big leader, he naturally has a secretary, but in the next room, he delivers documents when needed, as well as snacks and fruits. She poured a cup of black tea by herself and took a sip. She felt that it had no taste. It was because there were not enough sugar cubes. Just add 2 more cubes. Then he walked to the window with the teacup in hand, put his little arms on the windowsill and looked at the boundless blue sea in the distance, where a ship was sailing. She suddenly thought of the bet and felt a little uneasy for no reason. Yesterday, I met 2 people sent by Kanyang headquarters. After some exchanges, ordinary people usually introduce themselves by name and position, whether they are police, doctors, students, civil servants, etc. Kanyang often has one more thing, which is to introduce what they do. The inherited soul of the battleship, some sort of light cruiser, or some sort of battle cruiser. Anyway, when I learned that they were Lion and Vanguard respectively, I was a little concerned, but I didn't go into details. After the other party left, he searched around the office and finally found a list in the filing cabinet. That was given to him by Sugu before. Please pay more attention to the ship girls on the list. Of course they are all wandering ship girls. Said to be a previously lost companion. The list has been changed several times, and there are only a few people left. The only ones on it are Lions and Vanguards. This morning I saw 2 people with abnormal training levels and luxurious equipment. At that time, I thought of a possibility. Just thinking about it again, the other party knew about Sugu, but he didn't show much strange behavior. It seemed to be a little bit, but it was not obvious. I have a headache. We will meet at dinner in the evening and we will know everything by then. Suddenly, a sea breeze blew up and poured into the office. Several documents placed on the desk were blown to the ground. Enterprise closed the window and left, put down the teacup on the office, and picked up the documents scattered on the floor. She took a look at it and saw that it was delivered yesterday. She hadn't thought about what to do with it yet, so she didn't care too much and was a little absent-minded. Even if they are a group, even if they are acting during exercises. There's nothing good to say about winning. The hero machine is so awesome that I couldn't ask for it more. I have to say that I had a dream about hero aircraft a few days ago. I encountered the deep-sea Akagakaga at sea, and controlled those hero aircraft to submerge their carrier-based aircraft. I easily took over the air and won the victory beautifully. In the end, he ignored the begging for mercy, took off his clothes and took pictures. Damn, the front was fine, but the style of the back became so weird, it must have been contaminated by those people. If you are not attending a banquet, you must wear a formal dress. If you are not going to a government department or participating in any event, you must dress formally. The Enterprise was dressed quite casually. She looked down at her long legs wrapped in jeans. She was absolutely invincible. She thought to herself that if she lost, would she really dare to take action with the courage of that coward? It doesn't matter if you really do it, the worst is to touch your legs. No, no, this attitude is wrong. As a ship girl, how can you be so casual? This is a bit of recognition of that guy. Walking out of the office building and walking on the road, there are lush foliage all around, and the crowns of branches and leaves form tall arches. In addition to finding trouble, he also discussed many other things with the company. Sugu said, "It is actually a special distinguished combat cross, the highest level, and the rewards are really generous. The sea breeze blew, leaves fell from the sky, and cans thrown by someone were rolling on the ground. On such a clean ground, fallen leaves were not included. There was a can that was an eyesore." Sugu picked it up and threw it into the trash can next to it, the way he shot. Just at this time, a young girl walked towards me and said, "Mr. Su, I can't tell that you are so civilized." Of course Sugu said, "Houston, look like you just went to sea." Yes, Houston showed off his report, intending to hand it in. Missouri waved towards Houston, which was regarded as a greeting. Until everyone passed by, she said, "The company must have helped to speak up, otherwise the rewards would not be so great." Sugu said, "The company said she didn't have it." "You believed it when she said it?" "If it weren't for her, I couldn't think of any other reason," Sugu said, "or maybe we're overthinking it. The ship girl headquarters is so grand and generous." Missouri said, "Is it possible?" "Then I don't know." Sugu stared at the stone bricks on the ground and promised to make 3 bricks at a time. "For whatever reason, since the ship girl headquarters is so willing, I have decided to give them some face when the time comes to practice. Don't lose so ugly." "Then who are you going to let go?" Missouri knew that her training was not enough. "It's Sister Lee, or someone else." Sugu said, "It's still Sister Li. If they are really strong, there is nothing to say. If they are too weak, then let's put some water on them. The battlecruiser's ship equipment parameters are too low. Even though counterattacks can always be used for a long time in exercises, they still don't work. To choose decisively among battleships, you must first have enough training and modifications. The Bismarck and the North House have the highest durability, the Prince of Wales is not strong enough, the Colorado, Rodney and Nelson are fine except for speed issues. The Washington glass cannon, I can't say that now, is still the best in the game." Sugu took a breath and said, "It can't be bluffing. By then we will know everything. The company also knows the strength of our town government, so what kind of bets do we dare to play? Who is coming from the ship girl headquarters?" Missouri thought for a while and laughed, "Maybe it's an archer fish. Look, she has blonde hair and a good figure. No matter what kind of battleship she is, she will definitely not be her opponent. No, the company only said it is the figure you like. Think about it. It must be curved forward and backward. Xiaoxi's body is also a flat plate, so it may be a surgeon fish." Sugu said, "Do you still know about surgeon fish? Even if submarines are rare, don't you see who I am?" Missouri proudly said, "I have seen more submarines than you have eaten." Of course Sugu knew that it would definitely not be a submarine. The last sentence is too exaggerated. After talking so much, there is a big problem. Missouri put his hands behind his back and kicked away a stone. "If we win, do you really dare to touch the thigh of the Enterprise?" Sugu waved his hand. "It's a strange question, why don't you dare?" Missouri was disgusted. "Keep blowing. If you don't believe it, what can I do?" Sugu spread his hands with a helpless expression on his face. "Don't you just talk a little louder," Missouri said. "I still remember, let me think about it, last time on the beach outside the town hall. Xiaoxi helped Blucher apply sunscreen, but Xiaoxi couldn't apply it well. Okay, Blucher will teach her. At that time, you were sleeping on the chair next to you, wearing beach shorts and big sunglasses, looking like a coquettish guy. Blucher, let me help you." Finally, "Blucher," I agreed, "and then what did you say?" "The sun is too big, I don't want to move, forget it, it's so troublesome." Sugu raised his head. The leaves of the phoenix tree in the guardhouse were already bare. He didn't expect that the trees here were still so lush. I remember the time when the phoenix tree shed its leaves in autumn. After a strong wind overnight, the whole townhouse was covered with fallen leaves. The little maid Deutsch complained several times. However, it is easy to cut it down, but even if it is not a new plant, it is not easy to transplant it. That idiot in Bazai actually talked about planting heather. And more, Missouri said, bumblebee or raider, neither, it was Santiago. That day at the door of the office, she blew up Sigsby's balloon and it flew under the eaves. You happened to be there next to you, you always pull people's tails, and you don't forget to tease them when they are helpless. I picked you up and you can reach it? Santiago nodded, but you shrank, and you couldn't reach it when you took off during the final run-up, you weakling. Sugu hesitated for a moment and tried to change the topic. I remembered that when I first met Sigsby, she just blew up her balloon and flew under the tree but couldn't get it. Then I helped, she took it down, and when she saw me, she saw that her dearest and favorite admiral had actually run away, which made me confused, and later followed me with Sullivan. Missouri continued, by the way, it was just a few days ago, it should be dumplings. Missouri, are you done yet? Sugu became angry in embarrassment. How could Missouri be afraid of him? It's not over. I remembered that when you first came to the town hall for a drill, you agreed to sleep with me if you lost, but you never fulfilled it. Sugu said, would you like to fulfill your promise now? Let's see if I dare. Missouri said, okay, I'll sleep with you tonight. Okay, then it's settled. Missouri's voice was particularly charming. Do you prefer pajamas or no clothes? Of course it's best to wear nothing at all. Missouri grabbed Sugu's collar and pulled him close to him, blew into his ear, and said, do you want me to pay some interest? What interest? To be honest, Sugu was really distracted. Madam, go away. Missouri took a step with her right foot, then slowly raised it, and then slowly straightened it, wondering, do you want to touch it? She was already having a flying dragon on her face, and it was simply unbearable. Sugu bent down and grabbed Missouri's calf, and touched it. Well, now you are satisfied. Missouri patted him on the head. He didn't use force, but he didn't know what method he used to make a loud sound. Rogue, you really touched him. Sugu, he sneered, you asked me to touch it yourself. I am also very embarrassed. Then do you want to touch this place? Missouri put her hands around her, making her chest look more majestic, and her voice was charming. I really touched it? Please. Sugu stretched out a finger and said, I'll poke it. Let's do it. Sugu is a typical person who becomes strong when he is weak and weak when he is strong. Men are all beasts, don't make yourself angry. Missouri scoffed. Let's forget it in public. After Sugu finished speaking, he wondered if he was too timid, but when he made up his mind, Missouri said, don't wait until the time comes. They're talking about interests. Sugu had no idea at first. To be honest, I was a little excited when the company introduced me to Clarkston. Each of the little beavers is cuter than the other, and Clarkston's cuteness doesn't count. A love brain. Missouri slapped her nose in front of her. Stinks. What stench? What's that look in your eyes? Sugu said, of course I'm not looking at the little Lolita or the love brain, but mainly because of Fletcher. Every time there is a Fletcher-class destroyer in the townhouse, she just a little bit stronger, she would kill even a god for her sister. Of course, she would not dare to do it to me, the Admiral. I want to see the day when she turns into a star destroyer. You continue to explain. Sometimes I really want to beat you up. You also have to be able to fight, Missouri said. Who in the entire town can you defeat? Sugu suddenly saw two blonde women in the corridor next to him. One of them was handsome and dressed in a neat knight's uniform. The other had dazzling golden hair and wore a white chest-wrapped dress with luxurious fabrics and fine details. Tailoring, palace-style three-dimensional carved embroidery, and the design of waist and bustle, the noble and elegant temperament is vividly displayed on her. She is a bit far away, so I can't actually see it very clearly. I guess, someone is watching us. Missouri followed Sugu's gaze, paused, and thought for a moment. I've never seen her before. She happens to have blonde hair, and her figure is very prominent. That's right, it's them, ship. Someone from Mother's headquarters. Can you tell what model it is? If the ship's uniform is exposed, Sugu is confident that he can tell what kind of ship girl it is, but just looking at the appearance is not enough. After all, it is not a game anymore. Many girls don't have a set of clothes in their lives. Judging from the temperament, it is definitely not a prestige counterattack. King George V, plus the Duke of York, it would be just right to bring them back to the garrison. Chiao Wu is not that tall, definitely not, and maybe there is another one. Missouri suddenly reacted. You are the best, Mr. Su. In such a short time, you came up with the best candidate. Sugu chuckled and frowned. I don't know why, but I always feel like they are a bit familiar. You are familiar with women, Missouri said. Use this reason to strike up a conversation bravely. Really familiar. Sugu had some idea, but Missouri interrupted. Hey, Mr. Su. Separated by a green belt on both sides, a road that is not too wide but is accessible to traffic, and a small patch of grass and a flower bed. Missouri can't see the other party's expression clearly, but it feels very uncomfortable anyway, as if he is seducing the man. You bitch, the fight between me and the Admiral is really bothering you, lend me your hand. What are you up to? Missouri hugged Sugu's hand and glanced provocatively over there. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 891. In the morning, I received an invitation from the company to participate in the exercise. If you really care about it and go online, this is completely looking down on everyone and not trusting everyone's strength. Lion didn't feel any offense. On the one hand, she didn't have such a bad temper. She thought it was great to come from the Kanyang headquarters. On the other hand, the company really knew how to speak. I have to say that to be able to run a small Kanyang branch into what it is today, which is second only to the Kanyang headquarters, the company really has quite remarkable capabilities. At least it cannot be done by itself. The exercise was easily won, and he returned to the room to rest for a while. After leaving the Kanyang branch, we had a nice walk around the county town outside. It's just a small county town, but it's not ordinary. There are many luxury jewelry stores. Probably because of the appearance, temperament, and clothing, I planned to take a look around, but each shop assistant was more enthusiastic than the other, but in the end I didn't buy anything. In the afternoon, I wandered around the Kanyang branch and stood by the green pond for a while. I found that the little Lolita who was having fun there saw that she and Kinwei had become helpless and left, walking along the tree-lined path beside the pond. Walk along the path, walk out through an overpass, and go to the corridor next to the office building. The Admiral came here today. I wonder if he is here now. She saw that Kangwei's eyes were full of longing. She didn't say anything, and quietly looked at the blackboard newspaper on the wall next to the corridor. It wrote a lot about things related to attack safety, and it was written eloquently and beautifully with pictures. Holding her hand on the vermilion eaves column in the corridor, there are autumn flowers blooming in autumn. Vanguard is smelling the fragrance of the flowers. She looks like a heroic knight, but she is not a taciturn and cold-hearted type. She has a good smile. We will definitely see the Admiral at dinner tonight. I wonder if he will be shocked when he sees us. The Lion finally spoke. Probably. But Admiral, when he comes to the ship girl branch, he must meet with the company. Maybe the company has told her our identities. One is a lion and the other is a vanguard. The vanguard stood next to the lion. She was a little shorter than the lion, although we are not the only two in the whole world, vanguard and lion. I believe he can guess it is us. I do not know. Suddenly something occurred to her, and Kinwei became distressed. She said, "You and Hood may know each other. She must have guessed something if she is so smart. Otherwise, since we know each other, we are one of our own, and the reward will be increased. But I don't understand why she asked us to come here to make trouble. How should we fight her?" "Fight as you want," Lion said, "we represent the ship girl headquarters." Kinwei said, "But Hood said that we should kill with vigor and educate them, but even if we win on behalf of the ship girl headquarters, what's the point? After all, we are the Admiral's ship girls." "What Hood means is actually Lion said, if we can fight to show others, we, the ship girl headquarters, are the strongest." The vanguard thought for a while and thought of a fatal question. "We represent the ship girl headquarters and come here to deliver rewards, award medals, and finally teach people a lesson. I don't know how to say it. Well, we have to go back to the garrison, so in the eyes of others, does it look like he was snatched away? A meat bun is beating a dog at the ship girl headquarters." The lion's expression became strange. "And I don't know if I can beat everyone. Everyone is so strong, unless they cooperate with me in acting." Kinwei worried. The lion said, "Be forward, be confident, you are strong. Reality is not like a game. You can gain experience by attacking and practicing. There are many ways to improve yourself." Qian Fang nodded, "I have read so many books, not in vain." Lion said, "Those warship girls who form battle groups, their training level is not as high as yours." Vanguard's shoulders suddenly slumped. That was the fact. She thought about it and clenched her hands to cheer herself up. "It's no problem, maybe. Firepower doesn't mean everything, speed, accuracy and adaptability are all. The key factor in the confrontation. The firepower is too low. Why is my firepower inherently less than everyone else's by more than 10 points? Just give it your all. It can only be this way." Looking at the blackboard silently, Kinwei suddenly asked, "The Admiral has been away for so long and there is no news at all. Does Sister She hate him?" The lion didn't know how to answer better. "If you want to talk about hatred, it is your own Admiral and your husband, and even the kind that feels 200. Favorability cannot be quantified by weight or height, but if it must be quantified, boring people will agree to the Admiral's proposal. It means that the favorability reaches 100. After becoming a wedding ship, the upper limit of favorability becomes 200, which means that the favor will last until death. As for not hating, there is a saying that the more you love, the more you hate. The more you love, the more you hate. I really don't know why the Admiral left in the first place without leaving a single word. After the investigation, no information could be found. He seemed to have disappeared suddenly." Quincy, who didn't see the body and didn't want to believe some terrible speculation, kept asking whether the Admiral might be dead, was given a good beating. Anyway, the garrison has fallen apart as a result, and it has been many years now. At first, I thought that time would dilute everything, but later I realized that I couldn't forget it at all. It is of no use to comfort myself that this terrible Admiral has no merit at all and is not worthy of me at all. He is completely unworthy of liking. Only putting in hard work makes people feel a little better. Everyone says she is a proud and arrogant queen, but even the most powerful person has weaknesses. I don't know how many times I have been sitting on the embankment by the sea in the dead of night. Sometimes the avant-garde came to sit with them, sometimes it was the Queen Elizabeth, sometimes two people came together, sometimes they specifically avoided them and were alone. Listen to the crashing sound of the waves hitting the tall embankment, and the sadness flows back into the river. Countless times I thought, what should I do when I see that guy again? If you really have forgotten everything and don't care, then just say a few words. This is obviously impossible. So wave the lion head scepter and give him a stick, or kick him down, and step on his face with high heels to ravage him severely. In fact, the most likely thing is to give him a slap in the face, or else he will make sarcastic remarks and ridicule you, and you will know how to come back. Because I traveled from country to country for work, I didn't hear much information at all. In fact, I had heard the news, but I didn't know that such a big thing had happened. The admiral of that garrison was originally named Su Mengwu. I learned about the guy from Hood, and when I came to this ship girl branch, I learned more detailed information from the company. It turned out that he had already come back and had been an admiral for 3 years. He was trying to find his former companions and felt a little better. But even so, after all, it is an indisputable fact that he has been away for so long. Sister Lion, look over there. Qinwei noticed 2 people walking on the road next to her. It wasn't that Hood had poor eyesight. She saw that one of them looked a little familiar, but it was the admiral whom she had longed for. So many years had passed, and their feelings were not cold at all. Admiral, she patted the shoulder of the lion next to her. The lion turned his head and looked into the distance. It was just a glance. There was no need to confirm at all. There was no way to describe the feeling and connection. His originally calm heart became messy, but he still had the same indifferent expression on his face. Vanguard, besides the admiral, who is the other person? The lion had no answer. Let's go over there, Qinwei said. They look like they just came out of the office building, so they must have just arrived. Those people always say that there is a mysterious connection between the admiral and the ship's wife, and it's true. It's been at least 3 years since he came back. Lion meant, if there is a connection, why has it continued until now? That's right. After Qinwei finished speaking, she raised her hand and waved, opened her mouth without making a sound, mainly because she didn't know what to say. Then she saw the 2 people over there and stopped. They seemed to be saying what? Very intense. Of course the lion saw it too. The vanguard asked, what are they doing? The vanguard saw the woman lift her leg, and his admiral grabbed her calf and seemed to caress it. Then he saw the woman patting her admiral on the head. The man's head could not be touched by the woman's waist, but the admiral was not angry, which showed that the 2 of them were very close. The woman hugged her hands and raised her chest. The purpose was self-evident. Seeing her admiral trying to touch her, she finally didn't make a move. Qinwei turned to look at the lion and saw her frowning and her lips pursed tightly. It was obvious that there were lead clouds in the gloomy sky before the rainstorm. I am not qualified to say anything about what the admiral did, but the lion is a wedding ship. Although the admiral does not believe in monogamy, it is an unforgivable sin for a man to seduce other girls in front of his wife. Lion told herself to calm down, and then she saw her admiral look over, and the woman also looked over. The 2 said something. The next second, the woman hugged her admiral's arm and raised her chin when looking at her. Is this a provocation? From the outside, nothing could be seen on the lion, which made the vanguard feel a little scared. She didn't believe that the lion took this so lightly. He knew very well that something was brewing, waiting for an opportunity to explode. After all, he is our admiral. Lion said, let's go, avant-garde, go see him. I haven't seen him for so long. The lion took the first step and walked out of the corridor, stepping on the grass and the cobblestone path. The sun fell on her body, on her delicate, beautiful, and expressionless face, and her earrings were like chess pieces. Shaky. The vanguard followed behind, intending to say a good word for the admiral. We are so far away, and we haven't seen each other for so long. We have changed our clothes. The admiral shouldn't recognize us, so. It feels like it is of no use. Look. His arm sunk deeply into some kind of softness, feeling the indescribable and wonderful touch. Sugu suddenly had an idea, wishing this moment to last forever. He was still very conscious. Missouri was not an innocent little girl, but he was really reluctant to take his hand away. He said, duplicity, let me go, what are you planning again? Missouri said, "Aren't you happy that the pretty beauty is holding your arm?" "I'm very happy." "I'm very happy." Sugu saw two people walking towards him in the corridor. The first one thought he had a perfect model figure. There was no fault at all. Victoria's Secret was not worth mentioning. "They coming. Just come over here." Sugu felt that something bad was about to happen. Originally it wasn't too far, just a few steps. Missouri saw two people coming over quickly. She raised her hand and spread her fingers. Her voice was cheerful, but somehow it sounded a little malicious. Hello. In fact, in her heart, she wanted to come over and ask for punishment. "Who are you?" "I don't know." She stared at Sugu, and found that the other person's eyes looked at him a little strangely, and sneered in his heart. Some people say that men are the most forgetful, and their own admirals are the best among them. The old is never as good as the new. I have never seen him before, but he is definitely not a stranger. His eyes can tell everything. Sugu felt that it was just a little bit off, just that little bit off. "Haven't you remembered yet?" Blessed in his soul, Sugu almost blurted out, "Lion." "My Lord Admiral, my commander." "It's impossible, but that's the fact. Speaking of which, I was talking about lions to Helena a few days ago." Why did he look so menacing? Sugu thought about it. He looked at his arms and then looked at Missouri. Missouri blinked innocently, looking very hateful. When it was not time to care about this, Sugu lowered his head and looked up, looking left and right, feeling a little at a loss. He hesitated for a second and kept doing nothing. He stretched out his hand and found another embarrassing question. The reason was that his height was only average. As a southerner, the lion was absolutely tall and wore high heels, so he had to stand on tiptoes. In short, I finally hugged the lion and said, "I finally found you, my queen." Sugu hugged her very hard, with all her strength. He rested his chin on her shoulder and saw another blonde woman. He didn't realize who she was for a moment. Anyway, when I first saw her, she was looking at the rounded shrubs in the green belt on the roadside. She was like a person accompanying a friend out. The friend was quarreling with his girlfriend. He didn't know what to do, so he just pretended not to see it. Now he opened his eyes wide, looking at himself. Sugu said, "You must not know what happened to me. I will never let go this time. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I don't know how long it took. Sure enough, there was nothing that a hug couldn't solve. Until the lion responded to him. After a while, Sugu let go of her and raised his hand to signal to Missouri beside him. "Let me introduce to you, this is Missouri." "Why are you still stupid?" Sugu looked at Missouri and said, "Call me sister, Sister Lion." Missouri opened her mouth slightly, speechless. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 892. That's what it is. Walking along the boulevard outside the office building, they walked through a small square. In the center of the square was a fountain pond with many fat and big koi carps. On the way back to Helena's apartment, Sugu said everything clear. A group of little Lolita were playing and running past, and a black cat was lying on the wall on the roadside, lazily. At this time, the lion spoke. When we left the town hall, there were not many people left. Lion walked beside Sugu, one position behind the two of them in the vanguard, and Missouri alone at the end. It took 10 minutes for everyone to walk to the dormitory building. Everyone lives here. The lion raised his head and looked at the small building. He saw a row of shrubs planted in front of the small building. The outer walls were covered with vines, and many roses were planted on the ceiling. The lush roses covered the entire parapet wall. Covered. This is it. Sugu walked into the corridor, holding onto the handrail, squinting and watching the sun shine through the cement windows on the steps. He felt that this place was a bit like the Power Supply Bureau family building where his friends lived in the 1990s when he was a child. Helena's apartment can be regarded as the office of the governor's office in this shipgirl branch. With so many people in the governor's office, not everyone has a key. Usually, anyone who comes over has something to ask Helena for. Missouri usually doesn't need it. She are mostly corporate residents. No matter what, Sugu, as the admiral, has a key to carry with him at all times. Taking out the key and opening the door, Sugu pushed the door open and saw Counterattack in a black and white maid outfit cleaning. No one has been here for a long time. The windowsill, floor, tabletop, and sofa are covered with dust, and there are many spider webs on the ceiling. When no one lives in a house, it often deteriorates very quickly. Helena had a headscarf on her head and seemed to be cleaning. It was unclear whether she was doing a good job or not. In short, she was standing next to the counter, bending over and playing with the record player on it. Fight back. Counterattack held a rag in his hand and saw Sugu. The admiral is back. Are they out? Sugu responded. He looked around and saw no one else except the two of them. Richelieu naturally came as a participant in the war, Hindenburg was interested in the exercises, and Wisconsin especially liked to join in the fun, so they also came. When you leave, they will go out. When she was talking, she saw the Lion and Avant-Garde walking in behind Sugu. She had a cute look on her face and hesitated for a while. Lion? And Avant-Garde? Vanguard says hello. Lion says hello. Sugu subconsciously looked at her left hand and saw that she was wearing white gloves with a lot of dust on them. She couldn't see the ring on her ring finger. Did she just not know she was wearing it? The ring on Helena's hand was obvious. She didn't have the money to buy a cheap ring, but she liked it very much. In the end, the most important thing was the heart. Sugu felt a little guilty, thinking that he hadn't told the Lion how many ships he had married yet, and he honestly didn't know how to say it better. How did he know that Lion already knew everything? The information in Hood's hand clearly stated that someone had at least 13 wedding ships, ending on a certain date. As for the ring that never leaves South Dakota's hand, everyone except the ignorant little lowly knows the truth. Why are you here? I can't find you all the time. I really miss you. When I stopped cleaning, I counterattacked by asking questions, Avant-Garde explained, and Lion occasionally added. That's it? It feels like a coincidence. Hood will be glad to see you. I knew the Queen Elizabeth was with you, but I didn't know when she would finish her work and return to the town hall. Later, I counterattacked and went to the kitchen, brought black tea and made it for everyone. It was prepared early. As a British person, she is still not popular no matter how much she practices her cooking skills, but her level of cooking snacks is still very good. However, it is difficult for a clever woman to make a meal without rice. There is no material here. The shipgirl headquarters actually sent you to find trouble in our garrison. Kinway raised the teacup to his mouth, blew in, and saw the ripples on the surface of the tea. I still feel troublesome now. He didn't need to participate, so he countered, don't you know that the Avant-Garde can beat Richelieu? The Avant-Garde thought for a while. Bismarck was a bit difficult. Richelieu should have no problem. If it is her, she should be able to win. Counterattack smiled mischievously. The Vanguard is amazing. Richelieu is not the same Richelieu as before. She has grown up and become more powerful. Now she is the strongest in the garrison. Kinwei Xiaoxiao was surprised. When I looked at her photos, I felt a little strange. Why did she gain so much weight? It turned out to be because she had grown. Fei Li Helena suddenly laughed. She thought of something for a moment and quickly stopped talking. She looked around and found that no one was paying attention to her, so she felt relieved. She thought to herself that Richelieu had the highest winning rate in the garrison exercises, but unfortunately she had sacrificed so much and still didn't have a ring. Forget it, I met Hood again and was unconscious. I really don't know whether it was intentional or not. Anyway, I like to show affection in front of her the most. How were Admiral and I yesterday? Admiral helped me comb my hair this morning. Admiral's massage technique not good at all. Whether it is a girl, an ant, a country ant or an urban white-collar worker, the Queen is no exception. Women hold grudges the most. The Lion looked at Missouri. I heard from companies that Missouri is very strong. Missouri was sitting on the side chair with her legs curled up, holding a magazine and reading. When she heard what the Lion said, she understood what it meant. She just wanted to take the opportunity to practice with herself, and she was not a masochist. I didn't like the friction at sea, so I waved my hands repeatedly. I can't do it, I can't do it. The Lion crossed her legs and kept them close together, solemn yet elegant, which highlighted her long, slender, and sexy legs. She rested her left elbow on the armrest of the sofa and supported the side of her face with the back of her hand. She became more and more forceful. Miss Missouri, there is no need to be modest. I have heard Hood say that you were the #1 presence in the combat group before. Missouri naturally knew Hood, and the senior management of the Ship Girl headquarters said, "Don't believe Hood, she is the best at bragging. She has a very clear understanding that in terms of the parameters of the ship's equipment, as a cutting-edge battleship, she is definitely at the top level. She was already a very powerful ship girl before she joined the tutelage, and now she has become even stronger in the past 2 years. Nay, she is also a cutting-edge battleship. Although it does not really exist in history, it is a blueprint ship. As one of the 4 British ships, its training level is no problem. Needless to say, its equipment is at least Mk6 with 91 armor-piercing bombs. Still not asking for trouble." After a pause, Missouri knew the current affairs best. She pursed her lips and said, "Sister Lion, please don't embarrass me. Hear the avant-garde and counter-attack chat. How long have you been back at the town hall? Counter-attack, it's only a few months away from 3 years. Didn't that mean that the Admiral just came back and you met him?" Fighting back, he lowered his head and brushed his bangs, smiling, "Yes. Edgy and avant-garde." Kinway suddenly felt someone tap her shoulder. She turned around and saw Helena standing behind the sofa. "Come here," Helena waved. Helena walked toward the kitchen, Vanguard followed, and counterattack followed. Sugu saw them. "Where are you going?" Helena replied, "I have something to ask them to help with. The British and the American are not in the same circle. The two are not close friends. Of course, they are familiar with each other even though they live in the same garrison." Helena leaned on the cupboard and asked curiously, "Chiang, tell me honestly what happened. Why does the Lion seem to dislike Missouri so much?" Kinway told everything about the scene he and the Lion had seen before. "What?" Helena opened her eyes wide and couldn't believe it. "You said you saw the Admiral touching Missouri's thigh." She subconsciously placed her hand on her trembling and heavy breasts, and then touched her breasts. She finally raised her palms and said, "This news is a bit too big, please allow me to slow down." The Vanguard was still loyal and honest. The Admiral probably didn't touch her. He didn't touch his chest, he just stretched out his hand. "I don't believe it. If it's just touching the legs, what's the point?" Helena asked, "Have you really seen it clearly?" Qian Fang had an unconfident character to begin with, so she hesitated. "It's so far away, so I don't really know." "Then it must have been touching. The Admiral is such a pervert." Helena recalled that in the past, the Admiral would set himself up as a secretary ship and then stab his chest. It was an unforgivable crime. Counterattack, what do you think? To a certain extent, Sugu is really a bad guy. Counterattack is a wedding ship. There is no need for any disguise in front of her. Because of her soft character, she will not refuse at all, and even goes to the extreme. Fighting back, thinking of the many things Sugu had done to him, a blush appeared on his face. Those things should never be told to anyone, whether it was his sister or the Prince of Wales, and he whispered, maybe. The Admiral is timid, but he never refuses anything that comes to his door. Helena said, where did the Colorado ring and Akaga's ring come from? It's easy, just a confession. If you don't confess, just like Washington, Richelieu, Kaga and so on, just wait until you grow old. Kinwei didn't read all the information and was not interested. She just looked at the photos. She asked in surprise, Admiral married Colorado and Akage. And Ruhi, too, well, it's no big deal. I'm also a wedding host, and he insisted on giving it to me. Helena raised her left hand and showed off the ring to the avant-garde with the back of her hand. This kind of thing is the most interesting. She added, counterattack is also a wedding ship. He counterattacked shyly and nodded to admit. Kinwei looked down at his left hand, which was empty. He suddenly thought that when everyone met, the Admiral hugged the lion, but he didn't, and he felt a little depressed. I remember that Missouri had just come to the garrison, and she was fully clothed. Helena picked up the fruit knife on the knife holder, realized after a moment, and quickly put it down. What does it look like now? A big t-shirt. It just covered my thighs, and I walked around in the corridor of the dormitory building, and even went to the Admiral's room. In July, 80, 90, and October, I wore a vest every day, with a vacuum inside, and there were many, all. I can't finish it. She snorted coldly, Mutsu is a coward, how can she be so good? Everyone in the garrison knows that the Admiral will definitely give Missouri a ring. The two of them are usually so close. Counterattack thought, it was so good that it made people jealous. I don't know when Missouri will get the ring, before Mutsu or after Mutsu. Helena suddenly laughed softly, anyway, she wants to call me sister. What are you talking about here? A voice suddenly sounded. Helena looked towards the door and saw Hindenburg standing there. I was shocked. When did you come back? Just now. Wisconsin held his chest with one hand and held his chin with the other, typical of watching a play. You seem to be talking about something interesting. Hindenburg said, I find Missouri looks very strange. What happened? Hindenburg, do you see the person sitting next to the Admiral? She is a lion. She is the Admiral's wedding ship. I don't know where she was before, but now she is back. Helena smiled happily. Then her voice became louder and louder, and her smile became brighter. Missouri and the Admiral were not clear about it, but she caught him and raped him. Wisconsin remained calm on the surface, his ears straightened. Hindenburg wasn't usually too interested in gossip, but Missouri was different. He liked bullies the most. If he had the opportunity to hear her embarrassing stories, he could use them to ridicule her in the future. What are you trying to do? Helena spoke, vividly, as if she were at the scene, adding a lot of fuel and jealousy. No way, Hindenburg said. Helena, you said the Admiral rubbed Missouri's breasts. Helena still had some moral integrity. I guess I didn't rub it, just touch it. Hindenburg snorted, I must have rubbed it. Another voice suddenly sounded, what are you doing sneaking around here and what are you talking about? Hindenburg sees Missouri, I know everything. Missouri wondered, what do you know? My poor Missouri. Hindenburg patted Missouri on the shoulder and left. She was in a good mood. Missouri asked, what happened to Helena? Helena said, it's nothing. We all know what you and the Admiral did. Helena, why are you smiling so weirdly? Missouri thought of the key point, and she explained, I know what you are talking about. Nothing happened between me and him, nothing. No, Helena waved her hand and walked out of the kitchen. Not really, Missouri said. The avant-garde left and the counter-attack was held by Missouri. Counter-attack, you believe me? The counter-reply, I don't know. Wisconsin, my sister, you must believe me. Of course I believe my sister. Wisconsin was laughing, no one would believe her words. Missouri held her forehead and said to herself, this is going to be difficult. She didn't know that this was just the beginning. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De-Rong Yan. Chapter 893. Eating and sleeping is a black VV, no, eating and sleeping is a black hood. The conversation was about hood. When the chat was over, Sugu looked at the corner of the hall. The hour hand of the grandfather clock placed there was pointing to 5 and the minute was pointing to 12. It's exactly 5 o'clock. It's almost winter now, and it gets dark relatively early. It doesn't take long for us to be ready for dinner at 6 o'clock. Sugu suddenly remembered the bet and recalled that the company was unwilling to disclose the model of the messenger from the ship girl headquarters in the morning. He said that he could see it at the dinner table in the evening. Naturally, he knew everything. He raised his head and glanced at Shi and Kinwei. You guys seem to. I didn't tell the company, so it has nothing to do with me. The lion replied, no. You have known about my existence for a long time, Consultant Su, why didn't you tell me? The lion asked back, why do you say that? Sugu thought for a while, and it seemed that Shi and Kinwei had no obligation to tell the company about their relationship with him. Missouri looked at Sugu, and Sugu turned his head at this moment. The two of them looked at each other with knowing smiles. When the lion saw this scene, he suddenly thought of a word, tacit understanding, and his expression turned cold in an instant. Sugu didn't notice the change in Lion's expression. He thought that it was hard for Missouri to open her mouth. She and Lion were not familiar with each other. They had just met, and something unpleasant even happened. Although it wasn't a big deal, as long as she explained it clearly, it would be fine. And he is not only an admiral, but also a husband. Lion, I want to discuss something with you. Say it. First, then, finally. Sugu said, isn't it interesting? Counterattack as a maid, whatever the master says. Richelieu read the magazine quietly, and she did not comment. It's not too big of a deal for Wisconsin to watch the excitement, so it's better not to add fuel to the fire. Then Helena, anyway, no one had any objections, including the avant-garde, but the lion dismissed it and put down Erlang's legs, boring. Sugu felt a little difficult to handle and was silent for a while. Lion, my queen, I like you the most. Counterattack saw Sugu's profile, he was very handsome, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. She recalled what happened a long time ago, and recalled the afternoon when everyone met again after being separated for so long. Amethyst looked expectant and begged for a hug. The admiral hesitated for a long time before reaching out, and then refused her service over and over again, and then saw her again. His wife, the Prince of Wales, was speechless. What made an upright, innocent boy who was a little shy when talking to girls turn into such a lazy man today? The first floor of the cafeteria is the large cafeteria, where everyone in the Kanyang branch eats. The second floor is different. There are separate compartments and halls here, which are used to entertain distinguished guests and are not open to the public under normal circumstances. Usually, Sugu can only eat on the first floor. This is not because of negligence, but mainly because everyone is so familiar with each other, so there is no need to be so particular. In fact, he also likes the atmosphere on the first floor, definitely not because there are many beautiful ship girls there, which are pleasing to the eye, and there are also many cute little Lolita running around, who can touch their heads at any time. In short, this time due to Lion and avant-garde, Sugu rarely came to dine on the second floor. The company first introduced Sugu, as well as Missouri, Wisconsin, Counterattack, and others who came with him. This is Sugu, his garrison. Their lions and avant-garde came from the ship girl headquarters. I was a little skeptical at first. When the company was introduced, I stared into Sugu's eyes, but I couldn't see anything. Sitting next to the little Lolita, I quietly took away their snacks and pudding and ate them. I don't know why it felt more delicious. When they found that their snacks had disappeared, they said with a straight face that Quincy had just come over and wanted to go. Otherwise, they would frame Akagya. Anyway, these two people often do this kind of thing. If they are caught and refuse to admit it, it will be used to throw dirty water. When Lexington asked, "Admiral, are you fooling around with so-and-so again?" he calmly said, "No. There are many similar things. Oscar-winning actor Sugu has earned his fame in vain." Hello. Sugu stretched out his hand. The avant-garde stood up straight, with a straight face and a serious look on his face. In fact, she felt extremely wronged. Everyone was worried that she would be exposed, so they actually told her to speak less. When she saw Sugu, she didn't like this kind of game, but she had no way to refuse the Admiral's request. Her expression was appropriately arrogant and not unnatural at all. The level is there, otherwise how could he, as the ambassador of the Ship Girl headquarters, talk to the leaders of various countries? "Hello, Admiral Sug." Looking at this scene, the company realized that the two of them didn't know each other, and any suspicion disappeared. After the introduction, everyone took their seats and the food was served quickly. The lively atmosphere is still corporate. This is honey-glazed fire recipe, this is fish balls in clear soup, and this is beggar's chicken. There is a story surrounding this dish. There was a beggar who fainted one day due to hunger and cold, and a fellow inmate stole a little one for him. Later, this method was spread to restaurants, and with the continuous improvement of chefs, it became a famous dish. Haha, it is wrong to steal things, we do not advocate this. Our Ship Girl branch can't make the dishes for this table, so we have to find Hua Ningai and Ping Hai, a pair of sisters who have opened a shop outside. To be honest, I only eat these dishes once, because I don't know when they will. He was snatched away. There is an admiral who has been pursuing it diligently over the years, and it has achieved some results. I thought of that admiral again. He is definitely the richest admiral in the world. We didn't pay a penny, she built it all with her own money. A garrison built like a luxury manor. I like light cruisers the most, among them I like Ninghai the most, and I would give up anything for her. The strange thing is that I don't care about Ping Hai that much. The two sisters are obviously very similar, not alike. Come, we are destined to meet each other. It's rare to get together. Let's cheer. Good health and smooth career. When the company saw Sugu, he said with disdain, Hey, Admiral Sug, a grown man like you actually drinks juice and liquor. Full. Lion and Vanguard, let me tell you, be careful with him, our Admiral Sug. He is clearly in his 20s, and the garrison has hundreds of ship girls. Where are there so many people? Although I don't know why, there are many rumors now. It is widely circulated that the setting of 100% fishing is possible, and there is a terrifying existence hidden in the garrison. Wisconsin, do you think you have joined the garrison? Soon after, the wine was over 3 rounds and the food was over 5 flavors. Admiral Sug, in addition to distributing rewards and conferring medals on behalf of the Ship Girl headquarters, we have another purpose here. The lion shook the wine glass, and the red wine swirled in the glass, and the originally blocked aroma came out. I heard that your garrison is very strong. The battleships Bismarck, Tirpitz, Reputation, are highly trained, and no one is your opponent. Sugu was almost done eating. He put down the chopsticks in his hands and replied, there is no such thing. I don't know who arranged it for us. The lion smiled and said to himself, that's why we are dissatisfied. If you are not convinced, you can practice, and you will see the real results. I know you are very strong, after all, the enterprises are optimistic about you, but you will definitely not be able to beat us. You must know that we, Richelieu, are the most powerful. Missouri looked at the Enterprise and he laughed and said, Enterprise, just wait to lose. Wash your thighs and get ready. Although he already knew it, the lion looked confused. Missouri spilled the beans about the bet. The lion said, it feels quite interesting. It's fun, isn't it? So why don't you guys have some fun? Missouri said. Sugu patted the table and said, Missouri, don't mess around. What does nonsense mean? Missouri raised her beautiful eyebrows and said, don't force me, just have fun if you want to. Most people would never think of this. The lion said, is Richelieu very powerful? I don't think so. Our avant-garde is the queen of the training ground at the ship's headquarters. We have never lost once, otherwise, if Richelieu wins, our vanguard will join your garrison. If you lose, Fortress Richelieu, Deep Sea Bismarck, Deep Sea Tirpitz, and Deep Sea Frederick the Great, etc., please leave it to you. You just decided, Missouri said, this kind of thing should be decided in advance. If a ship girl from any garrison can defeat me. It was finally his turn to speak. Qiangwei had already practiced this in his mind many times, so there would be no problem. I wouldn't mind joining that garrison. Yes, that's what it's like, follow the powerful admiral and join the powerful garrison. Missouri looked at the lion again. Honestly, it feels really strange. The lion obviously wants to bet, but it treats other people's vanguard as a bet. If you want, I can. If the avant-garde loses, I will join your garrison. The lion drank the wine glass in one gulp. Or we can practice and win 2 out of 3 games. If I lose, I joined your garrison and you lost, I am short of a maid. The company took a deep look at the lion and saw the strength of the avant-garde, but it was just a 50-50 split, and it couldn't win, so it would be fun to catch up with itself. Missouri smiled, clasped her long hair with both hands, divided it into 2 bundles and put it on her chest. We agreed to cheat the company together. What's wrong with you? You still want to trouble me? There's no need. She said, you're not joking. Yes, joining the garrison is such an important thing. Traitors and the like are the most annoying, so Missouri is the favorite, and the company is amused. Missouri is afraid. It's not that I'm afraid, Missouri said. You said that small gambling can make you happy, but big gambling can harm your health. If you're afraid, just be afraid. Don't defend yourself. The company nodded. It's understandable. Enterprise, you can shout, come on, let's do it, let's play big. Missouri narrowed her eyes, slapped the table and stood up. What's the point of just touching your legs? What did you say? What did you bet on in the first place? If you win, you take the Hero aircraft, the La-7, Coach head-up aircraft, and the P-39, Pokrishkin aircraft. Okay, how about adding the bombers B-25 and a -2? If you lose, join our garrison. This time it's for real, not a joke. Don't play. The company felt something was wrong, but couldn't explain why. Missouri opened his hand and urged the general, then take a step back, we will retreat. You don't have to retreat. If you win, you can still take away all the hero machines. If you lose, you only need to sleep with our admiral for a night. This request is easy. Enterprise said, Missouri, I heard that you promised to sleep with Admiral Sugu, but you haven't fulfilled it until now. Sugu thought to himself that Eugen's Mutsu also failed to deliver, and each of these ship girls was more rogue than the last. Missouri wanted to say that she had fulfilled her promise. She saw the lion scooping out the soup with a spoon. When she heard Enterprise's words, she stopped what she was doing and looked at herself. She quickly said, no, but it's not a lie. There's no agreement. What date should I cash it in before? Okay, if you don't play this anymore, I think you will definitely regret it. Then put on a maid outfit and become our Admiral Sugu's personal maid. I don't need you to warm the bed, just bring tea and water and wash the laundry. It's been too long. I guess you can't spare that much time in a week, So just 3 days. It's not too demanding, just cash it in within half a year. The Lion said, I think it works. If she hadn't bet with me, I would have nodded earlier. The company thought for a while and said, I really agree. I told you not to be too arrogant. Do you really think you are the best in the world? Agree, there won't be the store after this village. Missouri smiled, thinking that he shouldn't show it too obviously, otherwise he would be guessed, and admitted that the company was still very smart. The transaction must be fair, the hero machine can be used for half a year, right? Of course we have to get it back when we need it. Missouri glanced at Sugu and then at the Enterprise, and that thing you mentioned this morning, the destroyer Clarkston, including that thing Montpelier, will also be transferred back. The possibility of that little girl is really high. The Lion said, Missouri, you still lose. Missouri said, it doesn't matter. The company said, I think it will work. Everyone heard it, Missouri said. I heard it in unison. Among them, Hindenburg shouted loudly, and the company had bullied her in the past. Missouri raised his hand, come on, Enterprise, let's high five. Snapped. Enterprise and Missouri high fives. The company said to Avant-Garde, we must win. It all depends on you. Missouri said, if you lose as a business, you can't win. Are you that confident? Sugu said, of course I am confident. The Avant-Garde called Sugu, Admiral. The company looked confused and looked around. She reacted after a moment, and her voice was full of resentment, Lion, and Vanguard, I believe in you so much, you also cooperate with them to play with me. The Lion smiles and sits elegantly. The company yelled, you are committing fraud and it doesn't count. Missouri blinked her peach blossom eyes, is there any? I regretted it anyway. You are unreasonable. I'm just being unreasonable. His eyes were wide open, but he actually had no hope. Missouri said, if you regret it, then regret it, but you can't regret it when you touch your leg. Everyone regretted it. Missouri said, we make sure the forwards go all out. The Enterprise looked at the Avant-Garde, and the Avant-Garde nodded. Sugu said, Claxton. The company said, you are hopeless.